Are you ready to reveal all there is to see? Esoteric secrets revealed in all of their glory. The Illuminati series from Paranoid American. Putting the naughty in Illuminati. More details at paranoidamerican.com.
Save us, Britney Spears! Can we be saved? God, why is Satan controlling the universe? Here comes the
call out to the good guys. Good guys, good guys, good guys. Witches, widows, bigger mistakes, entertaining, calming linguists. Good guys. Forum of decorum needs a secretive society to advance on philosophies intentionally, magically. Good guys, good guys, good guys, good guys. Witches, weirdos, mischief making. It's okay to change your thinking. Good guys. Good guys, good guys.
Big up yourselves and welcome back to another episode of the Secret Society of Good Guys. As always, we are your good guys, and tonight our newest initiate into the SSGG Dreamers. Welcome
Hey.
to the Secret Society of Good Guys.
What up? What up? Welcome.
Welcome.
That was a pretty sweet intro.
Right? It's pretty dope.
Thanks. I've been working on my patois. Just kidding. I know you weren't talking about my big ups. Big up yourself. I know it wasn't that. I'm a huge fan of your channel.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, and I watch everything that you do with Thomas. It's pretty fun what you guys have going on over there. I'm glad you're coming to hang out with us tonight.
Yeah, me too. I showed my son your your little ad, your little shorts ad with the Imagine Dragons song. That was cool.
Oh, that's
Thank you.
Abby did it this week.
Mm-hmm.
Our
You guys
little
are
meme
rocking with the content.
Well, I felt like everybody needed to see how many times you've seen the apocalypse, you know? Which, I mean, there's so many I left out, but it was fun.
What one did you leave out? You're so upset about it. You brought it up so many times. I feel like you want to sing a song
I left
about
out
it.
Armageddon. I left out Divergent. There's a few of them, but you know, yeah, like they come to mind now.
I thought you did really good, and I even like how it rolls. I don't know why the Hunger Games part is my favorite, and I like when I hated that song before the edit, and now I like it okay.
Yeah.
Well, it felt pretty end of the world-ish.
Yeah, so good work.
Oh yeah, you did great.
Yeah.
My brain wasn't braining, so good looks on that.
What do you guys have going on this week? What's happening over there, Thomas?
I just released some of my Paranoid American play sets on the website. I spent this whole week putting together Lego sets and getting super glue all over my fingers, and but finally it's something I've been working on for years now, and I just dropped them all. This is kind of like a silent launch, but yeah, that's the big one. And outside of that, yeah, just working on crazy memes and songs, and I think I got 8 hours of video dropping. Layla, I did one. I'm doing one with Abby.
Yay.
And I also did a 2-hour video with Matt Rife with a Rife machine, and we walked through the whole entire process of
that's
setting one
dope.
up and setting up the 2 coils. And there's like a little miniature like travel version that you can play for plants. So I've been playing it for plants and doing like weird experiments. So
You got to actually play with it?
yeah, no, I got like a whole setup. I got 2
Oh.
big Rife coils and then like a little miniature one. And he walked me through the whole process, start to end, of like unpacking it and plugging it in and calibrating it. So it's wild. I'm about to do some cool stuff with it.
So like you could put yourself in between that and like put a specific frequency and like heal yourself type shit.
That's exactly what it's
I
supposed
love
to
it.
do. Yeah.
I love it. That's so great. You're
And
lucky,
it's crazy.
man.
Like I'm a huge skeptic, so I was a little bit like, maybe it's a little hippy dippy, but I swear, like within 30 seconds of turning it on to a certain frequency, they mentioned there was like an abdominal pain frequency. I turned it on, and I started feeling giddy. Like I felt like I took a hit of nitrous or something. It was the weirdest feeling.
My dad's uncle actually had one from the 80s, the original Rife machine. It was like blue, and it was like a circle, almost like a huge earpiece thing, but it was blue, and he would try it on us and he would tell us, oh, this heals you. But us, being young and dumb, we were like, oh yeah, like a pulse is gonna heal us. But he was very like into electromagnetics. He was an inventor, like low key, like Tesla. Like he would create all kinds of technologies in his basement and shit. I'm like, this guy's a fucking genius. Like the shit that he would create with, electromagnetics and all types of gadgets. But that shit's real and it works. You're lucky.
Rife.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
the pictures you were pulling up a second ago, there's like a whole bunch of fake Rife machines or like
Yes.
knockoff Rife. And the way that it was described to me by Matt is that a lot of those look like the e-meters, like the Scientology style, and you would have to actually touch it. But the stuff that he makes, it's so powerful that it just has to be near you. It doesn't actually have to touch you at all. And that's like the biggest difference between his and everyone else's.
Yeah. Like they don't even make the original ones anymore because they're powerful. It's like literally you could just hold it away from somebody with the handheld version that they had before, and you could just feel the pulsating see just like hit you, or you're like, what the fuck is that? But this shit's real, guys. This frequency healing technology that they're coming out and they speak on, but they kind of try to suppress it.
Is it based on solfeggio?
I'm not sure.
Well, the solfeggio is just one of many frequencies. The Rife machine, you can just dial into any frequency. So you'll start it out and you calibrate it at 30 hertz, just because that's low enough that they've got this little magnet ball that'll jump around. You can see it. Once you start getting higher than that, it won't move the ball anymore because it's just going too high. So solfeggio, we can see, I think would be a lot higher than 30 hertz. I'm not sure what the exact frequency is.
I think the solfeggio frequencies are a whole bunch of frequencies that they just make the sacred geometry.
So
as
the
well.
range from 174 to 963. So there's just a whole bunch of different intervals that they build up to.
I wonder if they can hit the brown note.
Well, there's this.
I don't ever wonder that.
There's this TikToker who actually, I think it's called Simatones, but she also has a Rife machine, and she's super shadow banned on TikTok. But she has hundreds of thousands of followers, and she has a handbook with the particular frequencies for each part of your organ. So if like you want to regrow a tooth, you put that frequency on, it'll help your marrow regrow. Since your body has memory cells, it could help regrow any part of your body apparently, or any organ, blood, for everything that you need to heal. You can heal with that machine pretty much.
Do you think in ways like that Tartarian idea that the churches were just big Rife machines with the organs?
For sure. There's something to that for sure.
For sure.
I have one of those. Do you guys want to see mine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For real?
I helped build one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'll grab
awesome.
it real quick.
Awesome.
I think you would go to
This is
churches
the
to get
stuff-
programmed.
Yeah, this is the stuff we need to share with everyone, like actual healing tricks,
Just if I were a dude, like my pickup line to a chick, I'd be like, "Hey, you want to check out my Rife machine?"
Especially in today's world.
You're like, yes.
I'd be like,
Thing.
"Okay, just put this in your hand."
And just heal, darling.
I'd be like,
Here.
"Just hold it in your hand."
So this is.
Tell me when you
this
feel
is mine.
vibrating.
Mine's a cube. I don't know if it's called a Rife machine or whatever, but I helped to build it, and there's duct tape on it because there's a light, and it irritated me when I slept because you can't turn it off. So I put duct tape on it, but it doesn't interfere or anything. But this one's called the Primer Cube, and it was basically created by this guy that's into plasma physics named David LaPointe, and he put the schematics for it on the internet and made it like free for anyone to create one or to make one or even sell them. So me and some people got together and decided to make some prototypes. That's as far as we got was the prototypes. So this is a prototype right here. And basically there's a dome magnet on the inside. It's an electromagnet. Basically you turn it on and it spins and it emits like a bubble out in front of you. So the intention is to turn it on like while you sleep or whatever, you know.
I just let it do its thing in the background.
Yeah, and it
Uh,
blocks out like all kinds of harmful, you know, frequencies and stuff.
Yeah, but it's still a creation. You're at like a prototype. People just have thoughts and their ideas like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do it, but you actually created a freaking prototype.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty simple too. It's just based on simple like schematics and
yeah,
plasma
yeah.
physics and frequencies and stuff. But they don't teach frequencies anywhere. That's why the concept of, you know, Tartarian, Antiquitech, or
The bells.
cathedral healing centers or places of power and stuff is so beyond most people, and that's just fiction, and they can't believe it because it's not a part of their indoctrination or academics or anything,
Mm.
because that's empowering. That information is empowering. And then also just that also leads to a lot of questions, which is like, you know, the changes in our world and our atmosphere between those times and today, and why those things don't seem to work in our world the way that they so freely seem to work in the world as it once was.
Yeah, and it just seems like everything that they create now is like a newer version with new material and like a twist on the old technologies that are not as, I would say, natural. It's like the density of it is just different. Because for me, I see as the technologies that we have today are just repeats of past technologies, just recreated differently. So it's definitely the material that they're using that they definitely changed in their designs, I would say.
Well,
Because
if you look at the inventions from just like the 1880s through the 1930s, right? That backs up exactly what you're saying is that,
Mhm.
you know, and not to sound like an old fogey, with like, you know, they used to make it better and they lasted longer, but that's
But they
absolutely
did.
true. But
Fuck
on
yeah.
top of that, so many of the things that seem like they're like these quirky, cool little inventions, they all freaking existed forever, you know, with the exception of maybe computer related stuff. But any of these like little gadgets that people buy, you know, on like Christmas or for like little doodads, like things that and like kitchen gadgets, like all of
Mhm.
those things have been around for so damn long. And one of the craziest things when I was doing a deep dive into the 1930s, like a lot of the medicine that we have, a lot of the medical procedures that we have, a lot of the tests, none of that's really been touched. I mean, they might go in and add a fancy name to it here and there and make it sound like it's a little bit more polished,
Yeah.
but a lot of this stuff was just like shooting in the dark and like, hey, that looked like it kind of worked, and they just keep doing it 100 years later. And a
Isn't
lot of
it
people assume that it's like sophisticated, but it's not.
Yeah. And it's like, isn't it interesting that we went from like stone homes, like very strong, firm, can last fucking lifetimes, to like these flimsy, like not even dense wood, like, you know, cheap ass fucking wood structures that won't last maybe for like 70, maybe 120 years max, you know, to like be strong. But we went
I
from
mean, if you don't
stone.
live in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, if you don't live in Florida. But yeah, it's just changing. It went from like stone to like different densities into like crap. Like we're using trash now,
Yeah.
literally. Shame. Such a shame.
Brittany posted.
Oh yeah.
You're like, sorry to
Yes, she
interrupt.
did.
Sorry.
Does she just
Breaking
wait for
news.
us
Breaking
to
news.
start a show?
Britney
Breaking-
Spears.
She always
Everyone.
does, yes.
Breaking news, everyone. Something we talk about today, Britney Spears will post about, and it better not be that Willie Nelson's dead. I'm just saying. Y'all,
what?
I have this weird thing that happens to me. I'm supposed to go to Willie Nelson tomorrow, okay? And
Okay,
it's gonna rain out, so I'm not gonna end up going to see Willie Nelson by you. It's supposed to just be rainy, and so I'm not gonna end up seeing Willie Nelson tomorrow. And I was supposed to see Prince once, but I had to work late, and so I ended up being downstairs at the Crystal Ballroom in Portland at the bar and seeing Prince on the TV and being like, "Oh, next time he's in town, I'm totally gonna come and see him." And then there wasn't a next time. And Tom Petty, similar. So I just feel like if I get rained out of Willie Nelson, I just feel bad for Willie. It's not it's not me.
Poor Willie.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, dude. You gotta make it through this. So
I think he should take you on tour. I mean, that sounds like the most logical thing.
For real. I agree.
but I if I went with him, I would have to bring Layla so she would roll the blunts.
Oh yeah.
I would
The-
entertain him with interesting stories, and then Layla would roll his.
I
You
call
don't think-
myself the Dutch master. Just saying.
Yeah, true. He might steal Layla away.
All of a sudden, Layla's on a podcast with Willie.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll be like, "That's some dirty shit."
I mean, why not?
Willie, you
Willie,
stole
you
the
here?
secret society of good guys.
Yeah.
Big
I
ups to Layla.
Yeah.
oh my god.
One of the things that I think is so interesting about your work, Jay, is that I don't know if it's only you. I don't know if it's just your idea, but you're the one in my head I give credit to it for. So come at me if you guys have a problem with this. The plasma apocalypse idea. It like attaches in my head to you. And that's such like a huge theory that I think is so interesting if you kind of want to go into it a little.
I love this theory.
Yeah, sure.
It's interesting. It's fascinating.
I mean, first, I just, for everyone that's watching, like, it's not my theory. We all share information. Everybody, the world across and across history and time, we build upon each other, so that's what I've been doing. And I started by just researching myself because I wasn't satisfied with what I was taught in school, and I wasn't satisfied with any of the answers to the questions that I would ask. And it went against my reasoning and my creativity and other things. And I didn't like how vehemently opposed to some of the questions or concepts that certain organizations would be whenever I would just, like a child, come before them and have honest curiosity and ask about things, and it would just be a shutdown. And it's like, I was too young to understand what was happening at the time, but it hurt me. It broke my heart, and I felt like a bad energy, that I didn't understand when I was younger. So I've been researching eschatology, or the end of the world, which is pretty much the same as the creation event as well, because it's not the end of the whole world. For a really long time, and putting together little piece after piece of the puzzle. And one of the things that really helped me out, because there's so many different things to talk about when it comes to the apocalypse or any cataclysmic thing or apocalyptic cycle. There's a zombie apocalypse. There's a freaking, tornado apocalypse. There's a sun killing everything apocalypse. There's like a million different ideas that people have for the apocalypse. And I don't believe these ideas just come from nowhere. I stopped believing that any idea is truly unique or unique to an individual, that we touch with frequencies and energies that are infinite and always have existed. And something that helped me out with that was actually in the Bible. It says love believes all things. And like, I took that to one of these like experts or whatever. And he's like, oh, it doesn't really mean that, if it meant that, then, it would just be, ignorant, and you just believe in whatever people tell you. And I'm like, okay, all right, I hear you. So then I started thinking like, well, maybe because I was thinking about God initially. Like, I'm always thinking about God, like, who's God? What is God? Who am I? Like basic, deep ass questions about life. And I started realizing that everyone was defining God all messed up and contradictory to what they actually seem to believe in and stuff. And I'm like, all right. So I did this study on God, and that, God is supposed to be omniscient and omnipotent and all over the place and everywhere. And you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, well, there's implications to that. If God is everywhere, then that means there can be no place God is not. So I had to start asking people, hey, you think God's in hell? And like purposefully just trying to throw a wrench in there and see if there's a place that they could tell me where they get uncomfortable, where God would be. And they'd be like, oh, he's definitely not in hell or in my toilet or, anywhere I don't want him to be. And I'm like, well, then he's not, your God is not omnipresent. Mine is. My God would whoop yours because mine's omnipresent. He's all over the place. And therefore your God's a part of mine. That was back when I was debating stuff. But
But even if you go to the book of Job, you see that the devil is subservient to God still. Like, he does God's bidding. Like, he couldn't try Job without God's permission.
Yeah.
So like, as much as everyone wants to blame the devil for everything, it comes right back around
The
to
devil's
God.
just doing his job.
Yeah, that
It
is his
actually
job.
says in the Bible, God says, I created evil.
Mm-hmm.
It says, I created good, I created evil. But people glossed over and gleaned over those parts, and they would make a salad bar out of their religion. They would just pick and choose whatever aligned with their preferences. And, you know, it was not good. I didn't like it. It was just seemed fake to me. So I took this concept of love believes all things, and I'm like, well, maybe everything is really right. All these factions and opposing belief systems and stuff, maybe they're all right, but maybe they all, you know, have pieces of a bigger puzzle. You know,
They
maybe
see
they
a
all have,
fraction of infinity, pretty much.
yeah. And so I started looking at it more like that, that everyone, that there's no such thing as an absolute lie or absolute falsity or anything, and that there's truth to and in everything if everything is in fact made out of the truth, which would be God. You know what I
This
mean?
is such a reality transurfing concept too, so this is awesome. Like, I'm totally with you on this. I'm following.
Yeah. So, you know, that helped me out a lot because I no longer did I have to debate with people or explain myself. You know what I mean? Like people are like, give your references or whatever. Tell me, where'd you get that? And this and that. And then I'm like, no, I don't need to. My reference is all of time. My reference is everybody and everything everywhere. It's my existence is my own reference, you know, like this is my walk. I'm sharing my experience and my path, which is not yours. And I
Period.
respect yours, you know, this is mine. I'm not telling you my path is your path. I'm saying this is my path. And so that helped me whenever I started to ask about, you know, things that I wanted to, like giants and gigantism. So I would go and I'd be like, hey, it says right here in the Bible that giants existed, and people, oh no, that's symbolic of when you feel like a giant,
Yep.
you know, or whatever. I'm like, it sounds pretty actually like giants existed, you know. And then so after a while, I stopped listening to everyone. You know what I mean? Because like I'm like, man, everyone's so they plant their flag in one spot. They're so convinced in their own minds of their own truths. So I just disregarded everyone and I continued on my path. And as I did that, man, thing after thing would just land right in front of me, like little
Yeah.
helpful tips and hints and, you
It's so
know,
weird how that
clues.
works. Like
Yeah,
when
it's
you're
cool.
like asking truth for truth, it just falls on your lap without even trying sometimes. It's like you'll get like a specific tag from a weird account or whatever it may be. Just
Yeah.
information falls in your lap and you're
Yeah.
just like, God, what the all right, thank you, you know?
Yeah. Like people ask me all the time. It's so weird too, whenever you like when popularity is just weird, you know, like one person listens to you and it's like, all right, whatever. A million people listen to you and it's like your every word and everything you do, people are fucking psychotic about. But anyways, so people would ask me like, hey, I want to start doing truth in movies. What movie do you recommend? I'm like, well, what are you into? What do you like? What's your path like? You know, like I can't tell you go watch The Never-Ending Story. That's my favorite movie. You know, maybe it resonates with you or whatever,
I
but
just
tell
posted
me.
that today. Interesting.
So anyway, so I've been putting together things. I wanted to know about gigantism, and gigantism is a huge part of our cycle, Earth's cycle, this local world cycle that we go through. And there's plenty of evidence that I've found for gigantism in animals, plants, insects, humans, and many things across the world. And as I looked into gigantism, the path diverged at many different points, like a choose your own adventure. And it's like, you can go down this path that will take you to giant humans and titans and things of that nature. You can go down this path, which would be dinosaurs and, you know, giant animals of the ice age and other things too. So I took all those paths, everyone. I'm like, yes, all of it. I want to know everything.
Yeah.
Which was a blessing and a curse too.
Yeah, man. Oh my God. You go through like depression stages, like what the fuck am I? What is this? It's like it's fucking nuts. But I love it though. You find a place of like, all right, I'm all right. Everyone's not normal, but I'm pretty normal. Like you reach that stage when you see the crazy and everything that everybody does and how they put themselves in the box of thinking, and this is the way and the only way, and you're wrong and I'm right. Yeah, no, that's not life.
Yeah.
It's really weird too when like you go on one of these deep dives for, I don't know, let's say like 3 days or a week or something, and you're just like going hard at a certain topic. And then you got to go to like the grocery store or something, and you're just like waiting in line, like, wondering, like, is anyone else here obsessing about the cosmos
Yes,
right now?
right.
That's me
Yeah,
all
and
the time.
I think a lot of religions experience that too, because they all feel like they have the ultimate truth, right? So they'll be at the grocery store and then they feel this conviction that they need to like share their information and their this and that with like, excuse me, and tap on someone's
Save
shoulder
your
and
soul.
totally just come up with some random, hey, I need to tell you the ultimate truth. Just did you know? And that actually helped me out on my path too, because I started learning a really helpful tool, which was building bridges with people instead of just shocking them out of nowhere and coming and, or debates or anything like that. But it's kind of like holding out a little piece of truth candy. You know what I mean? Like, hey, do you like this? And if they do, then like, you can offer another one. And you slowly build a bridge.
And you're
from
like,
what,
get in my van.
yeah. Get in my
Sorry,
van of
just me.
truth.
I had a guy corner me at the gym one night and to talk to me about Jesus for an hour and 45 minutes. And then I was so upset I had to leave because my workouts take 3 hours and I had no fuel. So I was so mad at Jesus at that point. Like,
Right. Oh man.
I love Jesus, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I have a lot of stories like that too. But building, I learned how to build a lot of bridges in because the deeper I went, the more incredible things were sounding. And then I also realized that as I was studying, I needed to calm down. You know what I mean? Like I felt myself. I get mud fossils. What organic life form petrifying
Same.
instantly? Oh my God!
Same.
Everyone needs to know this. And I would start doing videos and stuff, and then I would go back and watch my stuff over time, and I'm like, dang, like I'm still immature, man. I need to chill out and
It's not immaturity. It's like you being a kid and finding something out, like that child within you is like so excited
Right.
because you want to share that with. I get like that all the time with whatever rabbit hole I go down. Like right now I'm going down the etymology of like my language and I'm just like, oh my God, this fucking connects with this and I want to share it with everyone. And it's that excitement of truth that you want to share with everyone because it's resonating so hard.
And it's like a new word every day. So it's like, and like we talk about giants all the time. So Nephili, Nephilim, Nephili, and Nephilu. Nephilah. In Layla's language, Nephilim just means in the beginning. So it doesn't even,
or it's like in the beginning, Nephilim in the beginning, and that's what the Bible starts with, and that's what everything started with. In the beginning, this is what happened, and in the beginning, it was the Nephilim who were here. So just finding a lot Illuminati, Albanian, but it's Indo-European, and a lot of it has been changed and taken. Greeks. A lot of the Slavs from Russia.
The real caucus.
So this every word that I'm translating, the English word, and I'm translating into the etymology, like the lexicon etymology, our words are in there. And they define the true meaning of what the word should be. So Illuminati, Athena, Aphrodite, like all these Greek goddesses. In Greek, it'll mean one thing, but when you translate it in the words that I speak, it'll mean exactly what you would want it to mean.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do a whole
I love that stuff.
thing. Yeah, it's so great.
In Hebrew, actually, at the very beginning of the Bible, it doesn't really actually transliterate into in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But in the beginnings, plural, I guess you could say, because it's ba, which is like in, and then rosh, which means like the top or the head or the lead, or initial. And then the berashit, the it at the end is plural. So it's really more technically in one of the beginnings, or during the beginnings when these beginnings happen, indicating a cycle.
Parashit.
Is it a cycle or is it like every timeline? Like infinity, we always think that infinity is a number system, but it's not. It's like it's every past, present, and future and all the in-betweens. So is in the beginning necessarily, does that mean
Well, it could be
like
both.
a loop, or is it every timeline?
Linear. But if it's non-linear, then it could be all things at the same time, which would be multiple beginnings.
Yeah. Well, it goes on to say specifically in the beginning when God created the heavens and the earth, indicating this world. Like here's your cycle. That's here's this world's cycles or whatnot, right? But not maybe not the ultimate beginning though. But these are the beginnings. These are the start of different cycles that happen. and then it goes into those cycles, which is what Genesis really, is. It focuses on those specific topics, but it has contemporaries like Jubilees and Joshua that focus on the exact same timeline, but meanwhile, this was happening, and here's about the women in the Bible, or here's the here's the calendars or whatever.
The Book of Men, written by a bunch of men that has systematically removed all women and shamed periods and everything else in between.
Yeah, and that's so crazy to me too.
It's like there really isn't very many women in the Bible.
No.
Yeah, and that's evidence, because about the plasma apocalypse, it's about these shifts that go back and forth between many things, but one of them is a masculine energy and a feminine energy. And I found that the world we came from, the one prior, was a feminine energy, and it was a matriarchy, and it was goddess worship, and it was a lot of female entities and energies. But then once we went through this flip, energetically speaking, it flipped everything around, including that we went to a masculine energy and kings and patriarchy and things like that.
This is the Abby was the first one that I heard say about the asteroid belt exploding and changing all the planets after it and what their sexuality was. But I'm hearing a lot more people start to bring it up about the Saturn taking on Kronos as we know it now, but it used to be Crone. So it was such a feminine energy before, and now it carries just a masculine energy. I always think that's so interesting. Or Mercury, how people always see it as I always like Prince, like this grown androgynous figure, but really it's like Cupid, where it's a baby and the sex doesn't matter that much yet. It's like the androgyny of stop thinking with your dick, it's just a baby. It
Tom
just
Hanks.
doesn't matter yet. Tom Hanks.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, you know what is so weird when you guys were going through your awakenings of things? Mine happened through Hollywood. So it was probably 2012, and I'm like, they're eating babies. And when I tried to express the way this hit me and how many years it took for every sign I saw and everything they were doing. So by the time it got to 2015, 2016, when the names of Sarah Ashcraft start to circulate, and these other names of tortured once children that were apparent slaves of these elite, when those names start to circulate, and then when you get to 2018, 19 and Isaac Cappy comes along, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was at the brink. I was the fact that the world's here. This is probably why I'm so glittery red pilled, because I never thought the world would ever be here, that if you even say the name Tom Hanks anywhere, people are like, where it's just most of Hollywood, if you say their name, people are like, creeper, or Ricky Gervais even being able to go on whatever show and just talk about it. So I just am like, gosh, I can't believe the questions people are open to now, or asking, or just the things that they're just like, oh, I hate that, or the Super Bowl rituals everyone just watches. No one cares about football anymore. They're like, I wonder how these demons are going to celebrate in front of us this year.
I love that though.
Yeah, and so it's just the fact that everyone's here is why when people are like, but Bill Gates, and they're going to vaccine us and they're going to shut us down again, and I'm like, no, they're not, because you're here now. The fact that you're screaming at me now and you wore a mask before means we're never going to do that again. You're here now. Welcome.
That's so funny.
Die Hard, welcome to the party, pal. That's what I feel like. Nope. We were all screaming this for so many years. We had our own personal apocalypse for so many years. I've been Y2K'd, and I've been 2012'd, and I've been, I can't believe that our parents went under school desks because of nuclear weapons. They thought something was going to save them. Or we all go on an airplane and we're like, you know what we should do? Let's tuck our head between our knees. That'll make us feel good. These little tiny gestures we do, that if the apocalypse comes, you might be safe because you have a bug out bag.
Yeah.
It's like if the elevator's dropping, just jump at the last second and you'll be fine.
I used to think about that so much. I used to think that I could jump off the Empire State Building as long as I did a ninja roll when I hit the ground, I'd be all right.
They just didn't have the right
believe you would
physics.
do it. Yeah.
I think that about life all the time too with certain animals. I see people like animal attack, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, that was obviously something they did wrong.
Yeah,
Because
but
I feel would be fine with the bear.
with the bug out bag thing, like I get that a lot too, because it's, when I talk about the end of the world and stuff, then and I talk about it enough, then I'm the expert on it. And so people believe I have their personal own answers to their questions. And so they'll be like, is Tucson a safe place from the apocalypse? I'm like, no, it's the apocalypse. Like, what are you talking about? There's not a safe, guaranteed spot that you can be in,
Well, you're just holding out. That's all it is.
Well, I mean, there's one safer spot that I have come across, but it's not, anywhere that anyone lives, basically.
You don't expect to be raptured? Do you not believe in the pre-tribulation rapture?
Oh my God, I have such a good theory about that. So a part of my apocalypse insight is that time out. Let me go back to the word apocalypse. The word apocalypse comes from apo, which means to take away, and then calypso, which means a covering, basically. So to take away the covering. In ancient cosmologies, we have a covering over the world, which is commonly referred as the firmament or a dome or, the ceiling of the world or whatever, right? So if our world is pressurized, in part due to that covering that's over the world, if one does exist, then it stands to reason that that pressure would be released if that dome were to open up or that covering were to be taken away, which would be the apocalypse. If that happens, there's in physics, there's a law called Archimedes' principle, and Archimedes' principle basically would say that however much atmosphere would escape or fluid would escape out of the atmosphere, it would be equal to the same weight from below that would lift objects, basically. And that would be a hell of a lot of weight that would counteract what we call and think of as weight, and everything would become weightless for a time. And if you include that with worldwide winds and a storm and a tempest that kicks up as it's all getting sucked out, then yes, I do think that a lot of people will get sucked up into the sky and be with their Lord forever in heaven in that regard. Not that you have to be good or bad in order for this to happen to a person, but I also believe that that's where a lot of these holy days or holidays come from, where people are told, to meet in certain areas and to be indoors and to light candles and stuff to sort of ensure the safety of their future generations on these particular dates or times of year. So yeah, I totally do think that it's possible for people to get sucked up into the sky and eaten by Kronos.
Huh.
You just don't see it the whole biblical way, but really
No,
a rapture
I don't think
isn't
it's a
even
good thing.
biblical.
I
It's not even
believe
biblical.
I think NASA and Elon and other agencies are building rockets to get out of Earth, to leave the Earth.
Yeah.
I think their doomsday
leave the
preppers are
firmament.
going to leave here one day and go into the heavens where the conditions allow for an extended lifespan, basically. But yeah, like I don't believe that it's if you're good or bad. I do believe that a person's energy, good or bad, positive or negative, is something that will be able to be picked up on and seen. How do I explain this? So, like telepathy, right? Well, I believe in telepathy, and I believe in
So do
the
I.
old days, telepathy was much stronger, and the conditions in this
Yeah.
world allowed for a much stronger sense of telepathy, especially during this feminine energy time period that I was referencing. And in that, God, there's stories of otherworldly animals that had an ability to see a person's aura if they were good or bad, and they would be palace guards, essentially. This is why they put like those weird Chinese dogs with balls and stuff in front of palaces and things like that. That's what those things are.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the plasma that comes down from the heavens once the the sky opens and the electromagnetic barrier goes away, that comes in to ground itself, and it will also be attracted to frequencies, and certain frequencies will attract more than other frequencies. So you have this concept of the Valkyries that come and choose who lives and who dies, and the armies and the angels of God, etc., who can basically see the auras of people or our frequencies that we've been developing our entire lives,
I don't know. I sometimes think that someone just decided, hey, if we want to like manifest something to happen, like Chaney talks about the living word, when you have millions of people believing a certain thing, I feel like they can create that thing if a lot of people believe it. Do I necessarily believe that that's going to happen? No. Do I believe that they want us to believe that that could happen so they can maybe, I don't know, Project Bloom beam us and like deceive us in a way to think that it's actually happening and for us to like give up our rights in that kind of sense?
What about
Like
if it was Project Blue Balls?
the balls of it all.
No, would not just be just as shitty. It was just like a
That'd be a
beam that
lot of
came
frustration,
down.
man.
Yeah, they
People
just
be
made
pissed
everybody have
off.
the energy of blue balls.
Everybody
sort
be
of-
Wim Hofing it, doing some
Awesome, baby.
cold showers, some ice baths.
Like it just hit you at the same time. Like you're just at the bank. And you're like just a little irritated.
So we have to ask Jay about initiation here.
Yeah, sorry, we got to do this, CJ. But we got to.
Go ahead.
We're not sorry. I'm not sorry. No, we have to do it to you.
So every new member of the Secret Society of Good Guys has to answer this question. Do you want to be jumped in or sexed in?
Jumped in.
Bet. After the show, man.
That's a gentleman answer.
Some people pick both.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
different
what's the
than
real question, though?
Yeah, that isn't. Would you sleep
that
with
wasn't
your
the real
clone?
question?
No, that's one of the questions.
Okay.
Would you sleep with your clone?
You mean sexually?
Yeah.
No.
If you had
No.
a clone, what would you do with it?
I wouldn't do anything. I would respect myself. Just as I would want my clone to do to me.
See, really,
that.
it's
I'm not
just
using- I'm not
wow.
enslaving
really
my clone.
just Layla and Abby are
mine.
animals to their clones, and we.
Yeah, I would.
Thomas and I are just showing over it. Well, Thomas would be an animal to his clone too. I'm the only one here that would just treat my clone with some kind of dignity. And so I'm glad
no,
you have.
Why
It's
would
not-
that be dignity?
Listen, Chaney, making
Come
love
on.
to myself, okay? Who could love myself better than me? Like, what?
But
That's
it
not-
isn't you. It's a
But
clone.
it is me.
But you're not going to feel it.
I mean,
will
are you saying
feel
it's
it.
consensual or are you raping your
It
clone?
would have to be consensual.
No, it'll be consensual. Like, because
Oh,
I know
well,
what
that's
I can,
different.
like,
Okay,
you know?
that's you. All right,
And-
that's
yeah.
between you two.
It's just like
Me and my
multiple
clone are,
masturbation.
I'm gonna ask like, hey, you want to put our heads together and
That's the
get out here, go to the other
love it.
multiverses and wake up the other clones of us and rule the fucking
I
galaxy.
don't know, man. I think you have to show the clone who's boss. It sets a dangerous precedent to let clones start feeling like they're equals.
And your
I
clone's
love
gonna
when you
feel the
talk like that,
same
Thomas.
way, and he's gonna whoop you.
Thomas makes his clone sleep on the top bunk.
Oh my
And
God.
here is the final question for now. Have you ever farted into flame?
Nah.
Have you ever witnessed somebody fart into flame?
Yeah, I've seen videos and stuff.
Oh, never like in person.
No, I've never had a reason to do that.
Isn't this like something?
I
This
love
might
the
be an
different-
old wives' tale. The amount of times, like our parents were just sitting around farting into flames all the time. They must have put it in so many places that it's in our zeitgeist, but no, not one of us has farted into flames.
Well, this is what happens before cell phones. Everyone always rags on, not being in the moment and like being distracted, but that's what happens is you just start lighting farts on fire and doing other dumb shit.
No,
Mm.
I don't.
But you've got a phone.
I do.
That's why NASA made it to the moon, because they didn't have a cell phone. So they were like, "Oh, we have all this free time on our hands," and they were enough farts on fire. They were like, "I bet you we could harness this energy."
There
That's
is-
literally
oh.
how all the cathedrals are built.
There's totally so ancient bestiaries of old churches from the Dark Ages. They kept historic records and whatnot. One of those were records on the animals that existed at the time during the Dark Ages, and they have all kinds of mythic creatures and ridiculous creatures that modern academics basically would be like, that's fantasy, that doesn't exist, that's because they were stupid and they didn't understand what this was or what that was. One of those creatures that comes up time and time again is a flame farting creature. I swear to God, it's some sort of four-legged creature, and they have like hundreds of pictures of this thing where like knights and stuff are like blocking farts from this thing, and it's shooting fire out of its butt.
Is it reptilian?
No,
So it
it's
ain't
like a
no
mammal.
dragon.
Nah.
Weird.
Yeah,
Huh.
you could look it up easy on the computer. Just
Yeah.
like farting
I
animal
definitely wanna see that.
bestiary, and it comes up all the time. I'm like, I seen it. I seen that one. Let's see the other ones.
Weird.
I love that we could talk about farts like this. So amazing.
This is off topic for a second.
Mm.
Abby, if I had a sex dream last night, was I integrating something with myself?
It
It wasn't
depends. I
a
mean,
sex
I would
dream
have
with
to know the
myself.
details, but I integrate through
Okay.
sex. Some people don't. Some people integrate through like just hugging or shaking hands or whatever. But when I'm integrating some soul fragment, some part of myself, I do it through sex because my spirit is a horny bitch. So
You can okay. I was
Can you
like,
tell
maybe
you
you
wake
are
up?
too,
Are
Chaney.
are you like, yeah, I've got an extra piece now?
Dude, sometimes I'm a man and I've had like gay sex with myself and it was like integrating my divine masculine. I was like, dang, why is this so much better than with a woman? And it was freaking wild, right? But like that was me like integrating my masculine qualities. And then I did the same thing with my divine feminine. I was like a butch female and I freaking was in love with this woman who was like Marilyn Monroe and beautiful and yeah, I mean, really weird stuff, but it's weird to talk. Dreams are just weird. So I'm not going to like even say that because that's how dreams are.
I know you're like, I hung out
non-binary
with you
dreams?
in my dream last night, but you were dressed like Goldie Hawn, and people are like, "What?" And you're like, "I don't know," but in my dream, it made sense. That
was
does happen to us.
Perfectly. Yeah. That's how dreams are because they're metaphoric. So it's also like your subconscious, which is your body. People don't realize it. It doesn't have language for you. So it has to give you metaphor and it has to give you word association. So a lot of the times the words are like, I mean, somebody's name could be important because it has a word association with it. Like if the person's name is Meadow, then you need to go through Meadow word associations, not actually because it was about Meadow.
The Meadow, Las Vegas.
See,
The
that's
Meadows.
all stuff that used to be taught to people. Families
I teach
taught
people
dreams
now.
and dream interpretation, and it was very important to their children.
yeah.
And the experts in it were people that others went to for guidance. Like, hey, I had this dream. I have to tell you about it. And it was way more than just random neurons firing off in the brain. And
It's
you
not,
know,
yeah, it's way more than that. And that's,
Yeah.
it's so important. Like I do that with my kids. Like we sit around and we talk about dreams. Hey, what'd you dream about last night? Because it is important to talk about it and to figure out. Like I had a dream the other night that I had an issue in or it's actually my niece had an issue in her forearm, a big old hole. And to me, like that was actually an acupuncture point on my, like, cause every person is you. That was my pericardium meridian, which is like affiliated with like heartbreak and stuff like that. So that meant I'm out of balance and I had to freaking deal with some emotions. Like it was literally telling me that I was hurting my heart by not dealing with this emotion and I had to sit there and process it because we allow emotion to be trapped in our bodies in our electrical system and our fascia and literally causes disease and makes you sick. It will actually kill you. It'll give you disease.
Yeah, and then some certain cultures they have a different way of like when to talk about your dream. Like where I'm from, they say if it's like a bad dream or you feel like it's a bad dream, don't really say it at night. In the morning time is when to like sit up and talk about it because some dreams are not supposed to be spoken of at night. It's just weird. We have like some weird juju around our culture based around dreams, and every culture is different, I guess. But we take dreams very serious and they're very
How many
prophetic,
of
I would
our
say.
apocalyptic theories about the world come from our dreams?
I was
Many,
going to ask the same thing.
many.
Every new idea comes from the dream space because the dream space is the space of alternatives. It's the place where that's the real reality. So
So
everything
would
comes from
you
there.
put
There's no new
daydream
ideas.
in the same thing?
What?
Yeah, because daydreaming
Daydream.
is accessing the same information. It's a giant information field. So
'Cause
that's why
they
some
say, like,
theories are
most
correct. Like
ideas
scientific theories are correct, but they're only correct for, it's the observer effect where, it's a particle or it's a wave based on what you're observing.
law
So
of observation, so you're
yeah.
changing the particle by looking at it.
Yeah.
But I've heard that too, like the ideas are always floating around in etherical space, so to speak, and it's just who has the gumption when they grab it. So it's
And
like
once
we're
I'm
seeing it at the same time. It's who runs with that idea. So when you see your $1 million idea in the store, you shouldn't be discouraged. You should know that you're tapping into that same space. And
well,
they
and
say
that's
most of the time people in the water, bath, shower, or car. That's where most of your ideas come to you. But it is in that flow state that nobody is aware they're actually in, that driving state or shower state, where I
Yeah.
would guess that you kind of hit
Love it.
that similar
it's
dream,
like hypnotic.
daydream
Yeah.
space.
That's why I
You're
feel like
dropping
I'm
your
in a
brainwave
cave
probably.
in my car. It's like that cave feeling, like you're enclosed in this like shell and you're just in this space of just thought. All my ideas flow there. It's just, like aha moments happen and you're just like thinking about the rabbit holes and the connections and you're just making connections. You're like, fuck, I wish I could just pull over and like
Do you
write
think
this shit
the
down real
elite
quick.
know that? Like, do you think our roads are made out
Yeah.
of something and our cars are made out of something, so they're harnessing that flow state energy of everyone in their
Well,
car?
you're kind of time traveling in a sense when you're using a type of object to get to a certain place quicker. It's not
Like a
like in a
horse?
sense, yeah, a car, a horse, a bike, you're traveling
Nikes.
faster.
So if you just
Portal.
run, once you start running, you're time traveling.
Yeah, and that's why you get the runner's high effect. It's like
So when you're
something happens.
crawling, you're time traveling.
I believe so.
It's really slow. I
You're
I think
I
just
you are
think
when
space
that
you're
traveling.
flying.
part of
It's
the
a
reason
portal.
why you zone out when you're in a car and you get into that state, I think it's just because
It's not the
you're
blunts, huh?
you're putting your body through like a really weird experience, right? It's like I'm going 50, 60, 70 miles an hour and I'm doing it for a long period of time, but I'm not dying somehow and I'm not feeling wind and I'm not getting tired. And I think your body is like, all right, something weird's going on here. I think the same thing happens when we podcast, right? Like
Yeah.
somewhere in the back of your brain, it's like I'm going crazy. Like I've just been talking at a light for the last 2.5 hours. Clearly something's crazy going on here. I think that like there's these weird modes that we can't fight because our brain realizes that something is very atypical, like has never happened before, at least in the terms of millennia.
I've had a prophetic dream and it was fucking insane and it happened 3 times in a row in one night. Like I had the dream, woke up and some kind of force pushed me back to sleep. Had the same fucking dream again. Woke up and I wanted to like be awake because I was so excited about it. That force. And I'm like trying to fight that force of like not going to sleep, but it was like, nah, bitch, you're going back to sleep. And I went back to sleep, had the same fucking dream, woke up, fell asleep again, woke up, and I was like, what the hell was that? Like, I literally was shown what was going to happen, a lot of like shit happening in our world, like on a fucking smoky screen. I was lifted up from my body. I turned this indigo, I'm not going to go in full detail, indigo ghost like fucking soul floated through my building out into the sky, and then armor attached to me from the earth, like all the elements of earth and metals and jewels just created an armor around me. And then this, I don't know if it was God or if it was an angel, but it came behind me and like beamed this light of love. I wanted to die in that thing, and it just showed me things that were happening and what was to come, and it just told me to teach people how to love. That was the main message in every cell of my body. Like, think about being covered in love, but like every single cell of your body is like being covered in honey.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did ecstasy in the 90s.
Like that.
Yeah.
If it's like that, then it's like
We're
that.
talking blue dolphins or Rolls Royces
No.
right now.
I don't know, but
Mitsubishi.
I was reborn, man. My whole life changed from that moment. It was God or something. I was too ashamed to even look at it. Like I felt unworthy, so I was like, no, I can't look at you, I'm so sorry, like I can't, I'm sorry, I'm ashamed. No, I love you, and I felt the love, but I still was like, no, I can't do that, that's disrespectful, I'm ashamed. And yeah, that was it.
I
It
think
was
that's cool.
insane. It was insane. There's a lot more to it, but I don't want to bore you guys with the details.
Have any of you had apocalyptic dreams?
I've got a reoccurring one.
Not like
Not the
Steve,
right.
what
I
is
go
it,
into like this
Thomas?
weird spaceport where like people are taking, I guess, sort of like suborbital flights to go places, and there's like a huge explosion, and it's like one of the weirdest things because I don't dream often, and the fact that I have a dream I can remember, and on top of that a recurring one, it always stands out to me.
They do, and those are the dreams that you'll never forget. They're the
I was
most
checking to see if I
memorable.
had any in my phone, but I know I've had apocalyptic dreams. I just
Well, that's the
they're not in my phone.
Nostradamus idea is that he has had apocalyptic visions, or they say like a lot of soothsayers throughout time when they break down their book, they're like, oh, this means the apocalypse. What is it, Abby?
I was raptured, actually. It was really cool. Like all the stars did the whole coming towards me, and then I was raptured, and I went to heaven, and St. Peter was there, and he was giving me shoes, and he gave me mismatched used shoes. And he told me that I barely got in. He's like, there's a scale, and he goes, your daughter did way better than you. She's like an 8, and you got like 2. He's like, you barely got in. So,
and then you put him
I've
in a headlock, and then he was like, okay, uncle.
I was like, whatever, I'm here.
Got raptured.
Get it, girl.
I don't want your stinky shoes.
That's crazy. I got raptured in a dream too. I've had so many apocalyptic dreams. I love them now. I can't wait to have one. Like, I get so excited about it.
Tell us one. Like your major one. The one that impacted you, like hit you in the heart.
All of them have. They take a long time to fade away. You know what I mean? Like those a lot of those ones have really stayed with me a lot over time. I've had many recent ones, but probably one of the ones that I had the most, and this is before I ever really started studying plasma or electricity or anything and relating it to the apocalypse, there was this I was having tornado dreams a whole bunch. And around the time I was having these tornado dreams, I dreamed and I was never afraid of the tornado dreams either. I knew I'd be fine no matter how close. Even if I got sucked into the tornado, I knew I was going to be okay. But I had this dream where there was a storm cloud off in the distance, and it started going towards this city that was just all by itself, like a little city or whatever, off in this plain. And it hovered right over the city, and then just the biggest lightning I've ever seen in my life, like thick, huge lightning. 3 strands of it twisted down and like hit this city, and it made this loudest electrical buzzing noise I've ever heard. And I was way far away on a hilltop watching this all from afar, and I could hear it. And I heard people screaming from afar and stuff. But the lightning didn't retract. It didn't go away. It just and it started just kind of moving about this city or whatever. And I ran up to this city. I can't remember if it was before or after, but I remember I was in the city. And at some point, either before or after, I was up on a big rock, and I was just yelling to random people, like, beware. Like I was being this sort of prophet in my dream, like, the end is near, and, everything you've read about is real and it will happen, etc. And then that had happened or whatever. And then when I was far away, I always felt like that electricity could sense me. And so I was never afraid of the tornadoes or anything like that. Nothing in my dream.
Afraid of lightning.
Yeah, lightning. Even in real life, like I don't want to really go out in storms and stuff because I feel like
I'm gonna get struck.
It knows where I am. It's attracted to me, and it will hit me. You know what I mean? That lightning will mess me up if I like.
I thought I was the only one who felt like that. I'm like,
No.
I do not want to go out in the thunder and the lightning because I know I'm gonna get hit.
I think it's my
brother got struck by
I have
lightning.
zero fear of lightning.
I'm terrified of it.
It must be my
I love it, but I'm
Florida
scared.
girl. I just don't care.
I want to get struck by lightning so I can get actual Lichtenberg figures because I think they're badass.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say superpowers.
That's what I
no,
thought.
have you seen the Lichtenberg figures on people that have been struck by lightning?
Yeah,
I think they're beautiful.
So pretty, so
the
pretty.
fractal of it all.
But we naturally have that with
tornado dreams wake me up. So I had one where there was tornadoes all on the skyline, and then I realized I was dreaming. So now tornadoes are a lucid dreaming trigger for me. It's awesome.
The last one that I had was I saw the elite of the world. I was on this Disney Jungle Cruise style boat ride, and I was going through, I don't know, Colorado or something, and there was mountains way off in the distance. I was in this valley, and I saw and watched as you know, everyone else on the boat was just doing their thing, having a fun boat trip. But I was like watching in the cliffs of the mountains and stuff, like these super rich people were building bunkers and like, you know, like had machinery and stuff to like lower supplies into the bunkers and stuff. And I was like trying to get people's attention, like, hey, like, do you see this? Do you see what these people are doing? And, you know, and then the sky, I looked up at the sky and it started acting real weird, and like the stars kind of started like twisting, and I think they had some color to them and stuff. I can't remember, but they were being weird. And all these people, all these rich people that I knew in my dream, I just knew they were rich. They were building all these bunkers and stuff. And whenever one of them saw me, like we were getting close enough to one of them that one of the workers or whoever it was saw me in the bunker, and they like blew a whistle or something and, you know, pointed at me, and everyone knew that I knew what was going on instead of just being oblivious. So they started chasing me, and I like jumped off the boat and I'm like trying to run around their bunkers. And then I went up this staircase. It was so weird part of this dream. I went up this staircase, and all these people that they were chasing, there was like all these government people that had these guns. And if the gun bullet shot you, you would basically disappear and start at the bottom of the staircase. And everyone's trying to get to the top of the staircase. And like, I saw everyone
trying to
disappearing.
ascend.
Yeah, but they would start over if they got shot. And so like, I didn't want to get shot with one of these bullets, and I didn't want to start over.
Wait,
and
what time of the, when did you have this dream? Do you know?
Yeah, it was probably about 4 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Because getting shot, I mean, that could, your subconscious could be trying to tell you other words, like they're having to start over if they got shot. You could be talking about like,
Could
just
be.
saying, there's
Yeah, I would never
wordplay.
do that.
Yeah.
But so like I jumped off the side of the staircase, and I was like going a different route, you know what I mean? And everyone else just kept
What
on
side?
going through this, like this,
Right or
I
left?
don't know, there's like a rail. So I jumped over the side of the rail and Spider-Man'd my way across and like was holding on to stuff or whatever. Yeah. And then I picked up one of their guns that I had found, and then it turned into this whole video game experience, and I was like shooting at all the government people, agents,
Don't
or
shoot
whatever.
at me.
They were all disappearing. Oh yeah. Hey, I wanted to do a little high five. Can we do like a Brady Bunch high five? High five.
Oh, I'm married.
High five. Oh, five.
Hey.
The Brady Bunch.
I also have a theory that as we get closer to the next apocalypse, if there is one, and there will be one, and etc., it stands to reason to me that many people will actually start having dreams about it, and that they'll start collectively dreaming the same thing or similar things.
That's
It's
I
kind of
had
like
one
shown
where
on
the
some
moon
movies
turned
too.
red, and then I had to evangelize and tell everybody that it was the end.
Jay,
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
think that dream was a dream. I think that dream is real. And I think they're actually building these bunkers, and they're going to just go in there and let us fend for ourselves when shit hits
Isn't
the
it?
fan.
And I might
what
be
I
wrong.
truly
Isn't
believe.
there something in the Bible that like the children will start dreaming when the end is near?
Prophesy.
The children will prophesy, and I don't know or is it the old men will dream dreams? I don't remember, but it is something about dreaming dreams.
I think the scariest of all the apocalypse, because if the sky opens up, whether it's a flood of plasma or water, or if it's comets, what are you going to do about it unless you're friends with the Hopi Indians and you're friends with your ancestors and can go underground? But
Yeah.
if it's of the apocalypse scenarios, the one that scares me the most, that I feel like if you're prepared for this, then you're prepared for anything. You can out-survive at least 20 other people, which I think is the big goal. If you're going to make it to the Georgia Guidestone numbers, you have to out-survive 20 other people. So if you're going to do that, you have to plan life like it's 28 days later. If you plan life like it's a zombie apocalypse, and not slow moving zombies, 28-day later zombies, fast running zombies. If you can out-survive fast running zombies, you can out-survive anything.
I totally believe, and I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be zombies. That's a huge part of it, and it's not just me, but it's every religion talks about zombies and the dead rising. And if it's energetic in nature, bringing cells back to life and regenerating, you know, people at the cellular level, the people that are already alive will have, you know, quickened regeneration in their own bodies, which is like the fountain of youth and things like that. People live much longer, etc. But the dead will be raised up, and it stands to reason that the more dead they are, the slower they'll be. Like,
what if it relates to Neuralink?
what if it relates to Beetlejuice, the star Beetlejuice, and it having something to do with that because Beetlejuice actually raises the dead. So
That was
in
3.
the TV show, so it's like that Beetlejuice is actually the star in the sky that they say when it explodes, it's going to give us the illusion on Earth of a second sun for a few days because and they said it could already be exploded because of that million years that it takes for light to get to us. But once it hits us, it'll give us the illusion in the sky for a few days of a second sun. But if you look at the TV show, and Hollywood always knows so much more, Michael Keaton raises the deets from the dead and puts them back in their clothes again. You know, like that. What is his name? The fat guy that's like best friends with the mom. Anyway,
Oh,
it just
Otho.
makes Otho. Yeah, it just makes me think that like, what if it has something to do with the sky clock?
I'm
Like, and
sure
just
it does.
bringing the
Both
dead
of
back,
those
the
actually. So
zombies.
Neuralink is attaching technology to the brain, and so whenever, like I said, the sky opens up, right? But there's these plasma strands or filaments that come down from the plasmasphere above, and they stream on down, and they connect to the ground. They ground themselves, but they also may attach to people. Basically, they may dock with people or possess people, you could say. They basically amplify whatever's happening on the inside spiritually. Your chakras or your aura or whatever becomes extremely amplified. So if you lean more towards that negative energy, which is what's coming from down from above, as opposed to the positive that's coming up from the earth, then it amplifies the negative, anything in you that is negative, and you become what I call plasma possessed. And technology will be an easy body to be possessed by this plasma. So it can, and I believe it will, actually bring inanimate objects to life, just like it will bring the dead to life. It will go into robots. It will go into any surviving 5G towers, and it will quite actually be, and of course, if it has, um, easily takes control of electrical devices and metallic objects and stuff, then having a little connection to the internet in your brain or to 5G towers or modems or whatever, then it stands to reason that those people would be easier to become thralls of this great mother goddess, or however people want to see it, that comes down to take over.
You know what's interesting? You bring up plasma and the whole plasma reset. This is a whole like movies upon movies upon movies. But in the Quran, not the hadiths. The hadiths like have so many stories that are not written by anyone special, but that's for another topic. But in the Quran, it talks about when the end times happens, there will be a sign, but no one will know the date and time, and the sign will be that the moon splits.
Yes.
You will see that the moon splits.
Yeah.
So we have the whole idea that is the moon a plasma type structure? And if the moon splits, is that the plasma reset with all the plasma seeping down into this
Yes.
realm that could potentially do whatever
Definitely.
you said
Yeah.
earlier?
So Muhammad was he was confronted by non-believers essentially, and they asked for, and requested for a sign to prove his power. And he said, he kind of argued with them, but basically then he called upon Allah to split the moon, and the moon
Mhm.
was split. And
Mhm.
prophecy indicates that that will happen again, that the moon will split. However, there's two moons up in the sky from my
Hmm.
perspective. There is the luminary, the moon, which is a projection of the physical moon, the actual real moon, where that image comes from, which is a
Huh.
part of the firmament or the sky itself.
Yeah.
And when the moon splits, people are seeing and witnessing the actual sky opening up and being torn apart and rent asunder. And that's whenever the moon opens up. And that's whenever, entities come down through that opening, like the actual real moon. So I don't know how to explain this, but like,
Oh, you're doing good.
so imagine like the firmament is a dome, like we live in a snow globe type
Yes.
thing, right? But at the top of that dome, there is an inverted dome that faces downwards. And that, I believe, is the actual moon that projects the image into our sky.
Huh.
And then that is the apex where all of the gases flood to, that causes a bursting at the roof. And the moon cracks open and splits open. And so people will see the moon split in two. And it's really interesting too, because in the Quran, it indicates that modern people would see this, and that they would just attribute it to special effects or magic or
Interesting.
something.
Yeah.
And that's also why I think people, talk about the moon eating souls, because if the moon is the Stargate or the depressurization point, the actual physical portion of the firmament, then when it depressurizes, all of the souls, all of the energy, etc., the aurora borealis, all the stuff that's up there is the first to go, and it gets to escape. It gets to be released, and the moon eats the souls up or whatever. You know what I mean?
So do you believe that there is the black sun in the center of the earth that projects from that point that creates the aurora borealis, which connects to the moon and the sun and does the reflection? Because what I think of the black sun being is like a mirror, kind of like in the center.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it makes sense that the earth, being a living organism, would have a heart and a central energy place.
that flows out.
Yeah. And it's typically, I've come across reference after reference, whether it be from fiction or, fringe historic accounts or whatever, that indicate to me that it's called the black sun, not because it's just dark or anything, but because it's a neon light. It's a dark light. It's a gloom. It's a glow. And it's typically like, there's a really popular book, or one of my favorite ones is The Smoky God, which is about these people that went down inside of the earth, into the hollow parts of the earth. And it's called the Smoky God because all of the, there's pressure differentials and stuff that create mist and fog all the way around it. And those same things happen here in our world when our atmosphere depressurizes and there's mist and fog the world across. And it just adds to the effect of these plasmas as they glow all over the place. And because of its fog, that light refracts off of everything, and then everything is illuminated, casting light in all directions where people won't have any shadows.
I get it.
It'll just be always light time or
Yeah.
daytime. And that's the epic, or the age of light, that we're going to go into, where people will be energized all the time. They'll be awake and it's daytime, and it's light outside. Other places will be lighter than other places, but right now, from my perspective, we live during the night. This is the night phase of our world, and it's the dark phase.
Do you think that eye color could have something to do with a way that you'd be able to see in a different kind of environment? Like if it was pre-plasma, post-plasma, like these different phases that Earth has gone through, and the biggest minority on the planet is green eyes. And then really closely after that, the second biggest minority on the planet that they always link to giants and witches, and everything is red hair. So and that also seems to be something about the Irish, which, something in this like druidic island that's never been conquered area, that, I mean, you have redheads all over, but there seems to be this Celtic druidic thing that's like untouched still in Ireland, even to their before it was leprechaun, their lepra god that was bigger before they made it small. But it used to be a giant. So I just wonder if sometimes eye color could have something to do with, like, if people were night watchers, or if we were actually in darker times. So this sun seems so artificial to us. And, because we used to be maybe in a moon phase, almost like Alaska, where it's 6 months, but it's bigger cycles.
Right. I think that, yes, the eyes definitely harken back to a time whenever our ancestors lived in different environmental conditions, but it applies to the entire body and
The eyes don't lie, Chico.
all of the races of the world, and where we all actually originate from and come from, at least going back to a certain point in history, right? So for me, the way I see the world is that there are the outsiders on the surface. So I believe right now we live on the surface of the world, or the top of it. Okay. And that the inside is where you're supposed to live. Like, that's the best conditions. That's the inside of the house. On the surface world, you have the outsiders, which is everyone around the North Pole area, basically, everyone to the south. And those people, according to my research, are people that did not go north to the world tree, to the place of safety during the apocalypse or afterwards, and that they decided to live under a red sky, under different conditions, and tough it out, essentially. So they adapted physically to those environmental conditions. And then you have on the surface a mixture at the center, at the North Pole, of three different classes of humanoid beings. One, the Nephilim, those who fell or floated down from the heavens, came down from above, which are typically described as white, very, albino, basically. They have an aversion to sunlight, etc., and so on and so forth. They're giants, they come down. Then you have the inner earth tribes of humanoids that came up from their lower world, just like the Native Americans talk about, climbing the reed to the higher worlds or whatnot. And the Native Americans are red,
The
typically,
reed?
right? Yeah, a reed, like a rod, a reed, a beam.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
A
they talk about
beanstalk.
A
yeah,
beanstalk.
they talk about this plant that grew up into the sky, and people would climb it. Their tribes would climb it and go into the next world, exactly like Jack and the Beanstalk. And so they
Girl.
come up and they're red. Oftentimes, the inner earth people are always described as being red, or oftentimes as described as being red, and gigantic as well. And then you have the third tribe, which is the Southlanders from the outside that decided to migrate north and to go there. So all three of those live at the North Pole, and it's a mixture, and it's a utopian society where everyone gets along and all respects their different places and all that stuff, right there at Paradise or the North Pole or Hyperborea, etc., the Garden of Eden, all that stuff. And so all of those different places, whether you're from space or the heavens or the Elysian fields or whatever out there, where you're in between worlds and the liminal spaces of the mind of God, or what I call the fractal verse or the cosmos or whatever, those conditions are different. So they change those people physically, and they imbue certain attributes to them, like longer lifespan and stuff like that. The outside Southlands conditions out here are much different, living under a vapor canopy, having to deal with otherworldly monsters, and there's light sources that are bursting up from the ground itself in different places, so people settle around those light sources and stuff. The sky itself turns red. We go through a color spectrum shift and stuff. And then if you live in the earth, so all of these conditions, especially the light conditions that change. Right now, we live under a glaring focal point that is very bright and very intense. This is me. That's how I feel about it. And it will, and it does change us. And because we adapt to our environments in order to survive. And if we stay like this for a long time, then everyone would start adapting to melt into one particular look that we would have as a race of people. But these spectrums and the light sources, they shift, they change, and then they change dramatically when we go through apocalyptic cycles where they disappear and they're replaced by other light sources that in modern academics, they just think is the sun, like that's the sun we've always had. When in reality, there have been different suns. There have been different light sources, in our history, and
Well,
people adapt to those.
what's interesting, the word for sun in our language is dieli, which means two suns or two stars. So people are talking about the two sun theory and how either it could be Polaris or Venus, and they're not sure which way to go on that. But I mean, it's starting to make sense with all the, I guess, proof they have in ancient carvings of like three big bodies being in the sky, whether it's two suns and a moon or two moons and a sun. It's just a lot of questions there that we still don't know, but I truly believe we definitely have or had more than one sun, at least two for sure.
Yeah, many ancient records also indicate that we had, many ancient tribes and whatnot indicate that we had more than one sun.
Hmm.
Um, I've seen examples in Asian countries of up to like 12, that were
Hmm.
different sizes and whatnot, and they actually all hovered around the North Pole, and then they took turns going around the world and stuff. The moon, was said to be a sun, and before it died or whatnot, that it was a luminary, and it wasn't just a dark dead planet or whatever.
What if these planets are not planets, but they're luminaries, and during each age, which is, I forgot how long each age is maybe 1,000 or 2,000 years. What if each luminary has its own time to be a sun on this realm, and it just switches out into a new body? One age will be, okay, this sun, and then the next age will be Mars, and then the
Right.
next one after that would be Saturn, because they do Saturn worship. you know? So was that a sun before? And now we have this current one?
And they say Jupiter is a failed sun.
Mhm.
I have another question. So much of what you were talking about reminded me of the Marvelous Underground Adventures of Baron Trump.
Baron
I
Trump.
don't know if you read that book or not.
It's great.
It's
It's
so
great.
wild, and so much of it, there's all these underground civilizations, and some of them don't have eyes, and some of them don't have like they're see-through on their skin, and they're like, "Gosh, you guys have to deal with crazy winds up on the surface. Like, we don't have to deal with that down here. You guys have crazy bright light up there. We don't have to deal with that. Or you guys have all these temperature changes. We don't
Yeah.
have to deal with that." And so it's like so much of what you were talking about sounds so much like that book that
Yeah.
getting brought up, especially since Trump posted on his Instagram this week a picture of his uncle,
Uncle.
Dr. John Trump, standing with Tesla at MIT. And so
Mhm.
everyone's like, oh, the papers and the time travel and the underground and the this and the that. And so it's like, here's that book again. And you just brought up this other part of it because everyone always brings up the parts that seem like they're predicting the future, but nobody ever brings up the parts that are all about the underground and this other civilizations.
So
Yeah.
what does apocalypse truly mean? Some say it means to reveal. Some say it's like the end of a period. Some say it's the end of the world. There's
Yeah.
so many meanings. What is the true meaning? Or do
Well,
you know it?
technically, it's to take the cover off of. So
Yeah,
people can internalize it. There's multiple levels that you can apply that because I believe everything's fractal and connected to everything else. So everything
same.
that exists on a tiny scale that we can internalize and just symbolize, and it's all about my feelings and my heart, etc. I think that's 100% true, but I don't negate that that reflects our physical world as well as the macrocosms of the heavens beyond, that all of these things are connected and there is an actual physical uncovering of the world. So that's really what I like to talk about. I like to, I like to make it literal, actual, physical, like the covering of the world will be removed and people will see the most incredible crazy things that they've seen.
You know what's interesting? Chaney actually and I were talking about, well, Chaney brought the idea of like how Noah, after the whole situation with Noah, there was a rainbow,
Hmm.
like to stop the floods from happening. So the rainbow happens, Chaney said the rainbow happens only because there's a firmament. So the rainbow came along. So did we not have a
Like,
firmament?
God so loved the world that he wouldn't flood it again. He gave his only begotten son. But before that
Yeah.
promise, he messed up once before and he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry I flooded you guys. I won't do it again. And the
Yeah.
proof that I won't do it again is I'm going to give you this rainbow." And we wouldn't have the rainbow without a lid on us. You cannot get a rainbow. I don't care any part of science. You have to have some kind
Physics,
of glass between
Mhm.
the light source and the to
the
make the
gases.
hue of rainbow. So I'm like, oh, well, if we were having a flood and there was a crack in the firmament or there was no firmament, then we wouldn't have a rainbow. And then once there was a lid on us, that would provide the rainbow. And that would be the example of, hey, as long as you guys are getting that rainbow, that's normal rain that you can get. If you
Right.
don't have that rainbow, there's a crack in your firmament and you're about to get flooded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also add to that that I've done a study on that particular verse in the Bible. That's the only place in the entire Bible or all of Christianity or Judaism or any religion where it ever says God promised he would never flood the world again. I believe, based on looking at the text, that's a huge mistranslation. That he
Mm,
actually says, I won't flood the world up until the next age, essentially.
mm.
Like it's going to be a long time before the world floods again, is how I'm reading that. But then also the conditions in our world as far as light and the light spectrum change, as I was talking about. And not only that, you have to consider, like, the fog from and the mist from the vapor canopy and all that stuff too, where the light is coming in from every direction. You know what I mean? As I was talking about with the red sky and whatnot. But it's a huge indicator that unleashed the time of the blue sky and the time of the flooded world and the water world where we now live in today, where we have rainbows, which is evident that we've already gone through the flooding stage, which means the fire stage is next, that the destruction by fire is next. which is actually good. It's good news because that apocalyptic cycle seems to be way easier and more preferable than a flooding of the entire world.
Oh, hell
Wasn't
yeah.
fire in the Bible before, like even the idea of hell? Isn't it being hot a brand new, like in the last few hundred years edition? Wasn't fire before always freezing cold? Or hell before always freezing cold?
Well, there's different types, and it doesn't. Anytime it says fire, it doesn't necessarily always mean heated fire. You know, it can mean just light, like the ancient Hebrew
Yeah.
word or can mean fire. It can imply fire, like heat, but it can also just mean light. And there are cold fires, which are cold plasmas that you can stand in or touch or whatever, and they actually have healing properties too. So just like how earlier we were, someone was talking about what was it, taking a bath in the love of God. I think you were talking about that, like that dream that you had, right? Being covered in this love or whatever. That is okay. So I believe in the fountain of youth. I've uncovered so much evidence that I'm compelled that like that's definitely a real place and a real thing that people and governments and kingdoms have looked for and searched for forever. And I believe so far that that fountain of youth is blue light that comes up. It's ionized gases that come up out of the earth that are released from the earth that have healing properties for people that bathe in it or shower in it or stand in it or whatever. Kind of like the show Quantum Leap. Paranoid, remember that one?
Of course,
Remember?
Scott Bakula and
Yeah, when
Dean
he travels through
Stockwell.
time, he's in that blue light.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Is this a movie?
It's
That's
a
a TV
TV
show.
show.
Oh, I don't think I've seen it.
It's so weird. Somebody sent me, it might have been Philip, with a post because I might have time traveled Trump, put that post on Instagram or Twitter this week, and somebody wrote me, they were like, hey, he was the original Scott Bakula. Like he was the original quantum leaper. Like Trump was just leaping and he saw Hillary in the future with Make America Great Again. So then he leaped back and it's like, okay, here's my political idea. And then he leaped in the future and saw like communist China and all of us with red hats. And he leaped back and he's like, it has to be red. You have to put the witch on the red hat. And then he leaped forward.
Well, with that rainbow question, and another thing to consider that people didn't see rainbows before was if our main color spectrum was red from a red light source and the world's light was red, then that would negate all of our other colors. Like because the only reason we have so many beautiful diverse colors is because the sun is white right now with a little blue in it basically. But
so do you think like color blindness could be an evolution because they say something like isn't it if the man is colorblind, it's more likely that his daughter can see well?
Yeah, I've heard something like that.
Yeah, something
And
like that.
so wouldn't that be interesting if like we come from a red sun and then certain of us as we get to this white light, like they can actually see better if their parental could see really good under the red sun, they could see better under the white sun.
Yeah, it's a part of our bodies adapting. So like have you guys ever seen the light from a sodium vapor lamp? Like they use for street lights sometimes? It's like a real orange color.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So those create a light that basically makes everything orange. And if you're in a room with the sodium vapor lamp or something, you're only going to see that orange color spectrum. No matter if you have a rainbow in front of you, it'll be various shades of orange.
Orange, yeah.
So if supposing we make it through a next apocalyptic cycle, the color spectrum shifts in our world, the light sources flip around and change, and that everything has a red. I'll just start with the red. It actually starts with a purple flash, but then it eases into red and then it eases into orange and then to yellow. But if everything is red, say, right, then that's the only color people will see. They will see shades of red. It will be light red to black. It'll be white to black. And it'll be like living in a black and white world or a world of being colorblind. And those people, their eyes and everything will adapt to that. And the things they paint or choose, the colors they choose and whatnot will be those shades until the spectrum starts to grow and new colors start to be introduced.
Like the black and white, the sepia tone.
Yeah, did we live actually in a black and white realm?
So maybe
You know what
in
this
the
reminds me of?
Holy
It
mother!
reminds me of Superman.
This
You
is
know,
blowing my
the yellow
mind
sun.
completely. Like I didn't
Oh
even
yeah,
like
yeah,
consider
yeah,
the
the yellow sun.
fact that we could have had a different sun that had emitted a different light that can completely change the whole perspective of this entire realm.
Yeah.
Oh my
You ever see those
goodness.
A
movies
lot
where
of
they start off
revelations in
black
Wizard
and
of
white?
Oz. Damn.
Yeah, just Wizard of Oz, right? It starts black and white and then it goes into
Pleasantville.
color.
or
Right?
if yeah,
Yeah.
Pleasantville, if it, like our
Yeah.
time is so messed up that really we've had it all stolen, and somewhere along the 1800s they rewrite history all over again, then you can start seeing this idea of, I'll throw shout out to Human Vibration, where she's like, no, we only had a black and white palette until we had a sepia tone palette, and then colors slowly started to appear, and the last color to appear was purple.
Huh. So in the Matrix, the green hue, what's that about? Like everything is in green and black.
Well,
Huh.
sometimes I think it's symbolic. So often when I watch the movies and I see this green hue, it's always associated with the north because of the aurora borealis, but not just the north on the surface where we live, but the north in the underworld where the dead are, like the souls and stuff like that. It's always green 100% of the time. And I believe a lot of that has to do with the gases that accumulate in that area and exist
This is
in that
blowing my
particular
mind.
area.
I love this conversation. This is great.
To build on that too, like Jay was saying about how like the sun being the current color it is now, where like it provides us white light, which is the combination of all colors. That's additive versus subtractive light. But a weird rabbit hole that I've been going down recently. Andrea Zerdas brought this up, but there's this thing called Li-Fi. It's basically like Wi-Fi, but it uses light. It uses the frequency of light waves in order to transfer information. If you think about it, like white light being every color is almost like transmitting all information possible, and all these different colors that it goes through. Let's say it goes through like a blue phase, right? Well, now you're not getting all the frequencies and all the information. You're getting a lot of that information filtered to you. And it could be to say that like right now, all the genetic information that we get could be programming from this big beam of information, right? And if it changes color, then that could also sort of change, your genetic information, and how this might represent some of those like weird bestiary animals that are like farting flames out of their butt. Maybe it's like literally different information is programming things on the surface.
Ooh.
It's blowing my mind right now. Like a lot of things are going on in my mind right now. Like, what the fuck is this existence? Like, for real? Like, what is this?
I'm going to go
That's
check
my
on my son
favorite.
real quick. I'll be right back, guys.
Sure thing, sure thing.
Holy
You
shit.
want Chaney's mug on your mug?
Yes.
Go to projectchaney.com.
Like
Go to projectchaney.com and you can get new Secret Society of Good Guys merch, including Britney Spears is my spirit animal. That was your mic check. You're just doing a mic check unnecessarily.
I can't do it. How do you fake a moan? Like, I can't fake it.
I can't either.
I can't fake it.
But I'm a
man.
lesbian. Lesbians don't have to.
I'm
My
just
voice is
authentic.
deeper
I
than it used to
can't.
be. I used to be good at it, but
I can't do it.
my
I
voice
never
cracks
have
now.
once in my life.
The real ones are too hot for TV, man. I can't.
I don't moan. I say bad words.
I know.
So do
I tell people I love them, and then I'm like,
Damn.
and I'm like, shit, I would totally, this is how I know if I were a dude, I would have like, I think it would be my kink. I think I'd have like a breeding kink, and I would be the type of guy, like we'd go out and I mean it in the moment that I'd be like, oh, I just want you to have my baby. And then I'd be like, shit. But I'd mean it in the moment. I'd be so turned on by it in the moment. Like, I just want you to mother my kids. Shit. So I don't judge. I don't judge dudes with breeding kinks. I'm like, I too would be like Elon Musk and Nick Cannon.
I can't do it. I can't do it. No, I can't. I can't fake it. I can't.
No, you keep starting with like a meh, meh. It sounds like a scooter starting in the garage.
I can't do it. I can't fake it. I never had to fake it. That's why. Well, no, I had to fake it, but like when you're in that mood, then you fake it, But like, I can't just do it
There's no point
sporadically.
in faking it because then the person thinks that they're doing a good job and they're not. So that's my opinion on that. We just practiced in middle school, so
Hold on. Let me practice off mic. Hold on.
You know what we all heard?
How did
Let me
that come
practice
out?
off mic real quick, and we all heard like, the same, like a little whine that she said, meh. Oh
Just go,
yeah.
fuck yeah.
Oh
Fuck yeah.
I fucking love you. You're so fucking hot. Bite me.
I'm gonna get better at it, guys. Just kidding.
Sorry, we just went off the rails for a moment.
Oh my god. You see, my laugh sounds more like a moan.
You know what my favorite sound is that comes from a girl of lately, and it's not like obviously not in the bedroom, just that makes me laugh randomly and it just seems to be a new sound that I notice all the time. And Layla actually made it tonight, and I don't remember what it was about, when girls are like, and I hear Summer in my head say it, but oof.
Oof.
Oof. It's like I could see it spelled out and there's nothing else that fits it. Like you can tell someone like, oh my gosh, I got into a car accident today, and then somebody stole $1,000 from me, and then I opened my car door and hit an old lady in the head accidentally, and you're like, oof. Like there's really nothing you could say about it back. Anyways,
My old screen name used to be Oof, I'm Dazzling for like AOL. So I had the oof in my fucking screen name like years back.
Some of those guttural noises transcend language. Like everyone knows what certain noises mean regardless.
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, you could say that anywhere in Thailand or in Mexico. You could be like, oof, and people are like,
I feel like another one too would be like, uh-oh. I feel like no matter what culture you're in, if someone hears that, they're like, they kind of understand what just happened.
and no matter the culture, you can do this to people. And this is my favorite. I don't know why I like doing this to grown-ups. I like coming up behind them and going, and they will jump like a parent just told them like they were doing something so wrong.
Oh my God. My mom did that to some random people. She invited me and my brother to go to the movies, and we got all our snacks and popcorn, all that stuff. And then we like set them. I was like, hey, I want to take a picture. Let's go stand by the posters. So we set all of our stuff down, right? Like my whole family. And my mom, we're over there. I'm like trying to do a selfie. And then some like random people walked towards our food, which we had set by these trash cans or whatever. They walked towards our food. And my mom goes, no, like they're dogs or something. I was like, Mom,
what? The pink note.
I was so embarrassed. I was like, and the people like, she did it loud, man. Like they looked over like, what's your problem, lady?
Ooh, I like that stupid background. I like it.
Boom.
I like how we have like wardrobe changes throughout the course of these shows.
Wardrobe change, freshen up, you guys.
That's when we get
time
fancy.
for halftime.
Yeah.
Now this is when we can get
I'm down
naughty.
to cosplay.
All the kids are in bed.
I don't know if I have one.
I know it was our fault. It was I didn't send out everything in time. We were like, oh, let's pink the apocalypse, and then we never talked about it again.
Mm-hmm. It was like a last minute thing for me. I was like, oh shit, I have to get a pink shirt.
I'm glad you guys had me because I had a lot of anxiety because I've been invited to other channels to be a guest, like, and they stood me up or they, forgot or whatever. I'm just like, Jesus.
Thomas tried to. He tried to play a practical joke, but we were like, no, we want to be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, no one show up. And then we were all going to push our books off the desk at exactly like 2 a.m. And then you were going to just be like, what the hell's going on here? And we'd be laughing.
That's what I was thinking about. Actually, why you were having apocalyptic dreams is because you've been playing video games with Thomas too much, doing Oregon Trail, Plasma Apocalypse Oregon Trail.
Well, we've been like playing around with the idea because I'm fascinated with the plasma apocalypse, and there's no way in my mind that even if Jay wrote 20 books, it wouldn't sink in the same as like a video game would. The same way that I guess Oregon Trail taught me more about the Oregon Trail than any history class I ever had did.
True.
And I really feel that there's so many cool topics that we cover that if they were just had some kind of like an engaging interactive experience that wasn't a doom and gloom documentary, and it wasn't, some long book that's got just a few pictures, but something that's got music and artwork and like, you can shoot animals and stuff and run away
Yeah.
from zombies, that kind of stuff.
And it's
From a teacher's
repetitious,
longer.
so it gets in
From a
people's
teacher's
heads.
perspective, this would be that you're engaging all the different modalities of learning. So you'd be getting visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic, tactile, all of it. It would do all of it. So that's the cool thing about a video game.
And the branching aspect too, whereas like every movies, documentaries, even books, unless you want to get into like the choose your own adventure, but they're all very linear, so they just go down this one path. But video games are so cool in that way that you can write every decision point can be like a new branching point, and you can go back and edit video games differently than if you go back and edit a book. Now someone's got to go back and like reread the whole book, but be forced to go through some of the same chapters again and just notice little differences. Whereas like you start a game over, you can completely change your entire experience and learn completely new things every time.
Do Dante's Inferno as a video game. That would
There
be
is
dope.
a Dante's Inferno
As a video game?
Yeah.
No.
It's pretty badass.
If I can just interrupt right now, because my Cherie just reminded me that I have to tell everyone, if you are liking what you're hearing, make sure you're licky that like button. And if you aren't comfortable with your femininity to lick the like button, you can smash that like as well.
Now, men got a lick too. You guys already know how I feel about that, but let me shut up.
I know, but sometimes a girl still wants to be smashed.
That's true.
Where is the like button? Are we still trying to find it?
Licky that like.
Oh man, the frustration of that.
Oh god.
Damn it.
I think it's just an old wives' tale. It's
There
like
is no like
it's
button.
like the North Pole. It's like, does it exist? Is it a second sun?
Is it a psyop?
Yeah, is it a psyop? I know, it's I always thought the G spot is an interesting name for it.
Oh yeah, that is actually interesting.
Named after a dude, right?
Yeah, like it's like the Masonic compass. That's what they're really
Yeah.
in search for the whole time. In the middle is the G. They're just in constant search of the G spot.
Yeah, that's the G spot of the world.
Yeah, having meeting after meeting after meeting, and they're like, okay, did anyone find it this week? Just thousands of years. Everybody
Yep.
thinks it's some huge secret society, but really they're just trying to hook up their wife.
Oh,
They're like, all they're talking about in there is worshiping the feminine. It's not about Jesus. There's nothing in the Masons that's about Christ, and people get all upset, but they're just
The
trying to
Mormon should be Masons. Just gotta say it.
I don't know why Mormon's called Mormon and not Lessman. Because doesn't it seem like Mormon could be the religion that women really made for themselves?
Well, with polygamy and some of those men having, 20 plus children, I could see why it would be more men.
Yeah, but it's really not like the women set it up for themselves. Sister wives doesn't help anyone more than a wife. Like the person who makes out the most in this equation is the wife, to have a sister wife, to help
I agree.
navigate the children, to help navigate the household, to help navigate the husband.
I
feel
can
like
make a case for polygamy in this
I
sense.
feel like she makes out the most. So if there's a secret society of good girls, they started Mormons, and they were like, the way that we'll hide it is we'll call it Mormon when really there's just less men.
Well, there is a few countries or towns that still practice this practice, but a woman will get married into a family and marry the oldest son, but the other sons in that family could also have the option of marrying her. So, in a sense, to carry like a fresh bloodline of the entire family. So they'll all three, four, how many brothers there are, they'll all marry that woman and they'll all have a responsibility to take care of the kids, gather the food, whatever the thing is. But all four brothers are gonna have that four. They're gonna have that bloodline from that one woman, and it be like a actual huge fucking like family.
In
Like,
a way, that's sort of biblical too, because if your
yeah,
husband died, you would marry a kinsman.
mm-hmm,
They were obligated to marry you.
yeah, and that works too. So it could work with the men or with the women.
And there's also, it reminds me of the different myths and legends about tribes of only islands full of women or islands full of men. Like the Amazon's probably the most famous, notable one. And it's interesting too, because I have theories about that as well. Going back to creation and Adam and Eve being created, I see them as being anode and cathode of the world's electrolytical system that we have. Mount Meru being the neutral or the middle point. And then I theorize that there are, in addition to an island at the center of the world, islands off to the sides, which act as anode and cathode, and that anything born onto those islands physically would be born respectively, being male mostly or female mostly. And then you would have these islands, legendary lost islands or tribes or whatever, of only females or only males that would have to leave those islands and give birth like off of those islands in order to give birth to a different sex or hope to, because the energy is so strong,
The
feminine
island
or
of
masculine.
Lesbos. If you were,
Yeah.
if you alchemized yourself on the island of Lesbos to give birth, then and you were pregnant with a male, then you had to leave the island. You were not allowed to have, and it had nothing to do. These women weren't having sex with each other and having kids. This is the thing that people aren't giving any credit to. This hermetic idea to these island of women is somewhere they married themselves. And in the idea of married, like we think of now, we have to get married to a partner and a man to have a baby. They were married and they married themselves. They alchemized themselves and had offspring. This is what people, I think, aren't understanding. Somewhere they wombed themselves, and then if they were pregnant with a male, they had to leave and they had to give birth and they could come back. But that was the Amazonian too, and the ladies were so hardcore they would cut one of their tits off just so they could shoot their bows and arrows better.
That's what I heard. I have another theory about that too.
What?
So like, if you've seen my videos, I talk about the blue beam, the major one that shoots up out of Mount Meru, right? And how it splits off at the top and creates this Atlas pose or this Y shape up in the sky. There's also these plasma instabilities that swirl around in vortices underneath it, which are interpreted by many in different ways when they look at this stick figure in the sky. Some people just see a huge face and these round circles off to the sides are eyeballs. Other times they draw it as that's a stick figure person with their arms up and these are their tits or their armpits or different body parts that are in that area or that region. And because they were unstable, depending on the electrical charge from the anode or the cathode, oftentimes one or the other would disappear. And so they would have this goddess with only one breast at times, and sometimes only holding up one hand or one light or one torch or whatever. And then other times they would have two, and then they would, both eyes would reappear, etc.
So hermaphrodite, what I understood for it to be like translated in our language, hermaphrodite. So the way you would translate it is like through the syllables, like hermaphrodite. Like each one has a meaning. Each like section has a meaning. So it means to cut woman from, or to cut woman from you, or to cut woman from to know you. So it's like they cut woman off from something. I'm still trying to go down this rabbit hole of like what it actually means, because people are like throwing, oh, it's a goddess of this, but what does it mean? Like the meaning of hermaphrodite. They just didn't call her that for no fucking reason. There's a meaning to the name why she was called that. So to cut woman, so it's like the idea of the hermaphrodite is like all woman, and she probably had both parts and something was cut off along the way. That whole idea. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out.
I did a video on that too. It was one of my least popular ones. People hated
Really?
it. Yeah, it sucked.
Really?
I was so disappointed because it was, man, I did a deep dive into, Hermaphrodite and Hermes and all everybody and all these different gods that were
That
shown
spell
as
is going
being
to take
both
time.
sexes. And people couldn't get past the physical of it. And I made it clear at the beginning, like, listen, I'm coming from a perspective that I'm discussing energetic phenomenon that is cartoonified and personified as humans in their bodies or whatever,
Well, this
Man,
is
people
another
could not get
thing that
past
if you
I
think
told you
I
not to do
believe
that
you.
video in drag. I told you.
Now I want to see the video.
But
and
if
I'm gonna
you
push the video.
think of a woman who would shoot her bow and arrow, and she would lop off one of her breasts, and this would be a depiction of a lot of their statues. In another way of a hermaphroditic way, if you thought of yourself as half male and half female, you might have a tit on one side and then you might have a chest on the other side. And
Yeah.
so in some ways, were the Amazonian women or the Amazonian hermaphrodites,
Flippity flaps.
yeah, were they in like the way, like maybe the Baphomet's been so inverted, but somewhere they were this Hermes Hecate idea of that in between.
The sideshow freaks. Do you remember them?
Yeah, where they turn to the thing
loved it.
man lady.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's interesting.
Very
Interesting
interesting.
philosophy.
What if you like just weren't naturally good at shooting the bow? That would really suck.
Well, you've seen
Like,
that too,
God
where the
damn it.
ladies weren't as powerful. Like any girl, like in high school, can go into the gym and she doesn't have to work out at all, and she can lay on her back and she can press the entire stack
was
of
me.
weights. Any girl, it doesn't matter who they are. It's just like every guy's in there, and it could be the football players, whoever the biggest guys are at school. They can't press what she can just press by never working out. Like her leg muscles are insane. So women would stand on their hands on horseback and shoot their bows and arrows with their legs.
That's what's up.
We have a whole town of tribal women who literally live as men. Like literally.
What are they called? I always want to call my
They're-
Bull Dyke friends this name now, but I can't ever remember the name to call them, but it just wants to roll off my tongue.
They're called Burnesha. So it's like
Bronesha. I'm just gonna be
started-
like, what have you, Bronesha? But it means Bull Dyke in my off my tongue. That's what I'm saying. But it's
These
such a nice
women
way.
look like men, and a lot of these women chose this path where they don't sleep with anybody. They just live with other women who look like men, and they legit look like men. But they escaped arranged marriages. They escaped whatever situation, because we had blood feuds, so they escaped blood feuds and would transition into men and live a life of a man, and they built their towns and they do what men do. I mean, they're fucking butch. When you see them, it's like, holy shit, I can't believe they're fucking women.
Yeah, that's exactly how the dwarven race is described in many fantasy books and novels and whatnot, is that it's difficult to even differentiate the men from the women. And that has taken me down many times paths that has me studying legendary tribes of humans that are not, I mean, just male and female as one is like one of many different tribes that are legendary tribes of human that all have, these crazy different looks to them. Like one tribe just has one huge foot, and they use the foot allegedly to like block out the sun, and they could jump super far and they were really fast.
What?
Tribe with huge ears, like elephant ears. Tribes, the Blemi tribe that doesn't have a head, and their head is like appears to be situated on their chest or something,
Yeah.
And these were also in ancient historic records that people wrote down. They put them on maps.
Yeah.
People
On
who were commissioned by
China.
kings and queens and by God himself to
Yeah.
tell the truth and to write it as accurate as possible, put these people on the maps. Giants lived here in this area. Sea monster was here in this area. The Blimmy tribe drew them without heads right here and drew people meeting them and shaking hands. And
Yeah.
you know what I
They
mean?
have records of that in China. They have it in Africa. They have it in Europe. They have it here in ancient America. Dragons, even depictions of dinosaurs. But I'm like, dinosaurs are not real though. Like, I
Those
feel like that's the cover up of, the dragon. But in the old maps, I see him, the whole long neck what was that? I forgot that long neck dinosaur.
Brontosaurus.
Brontosaurus. There you go.
What were you gonna say, Thomas?
it's escaping me. It's escaping
I'm
me.
sorry. That's my fault.
We're
I'm
talking
sorry,
about dragons
Thomas.
and dinosaurs.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
the one-legged creatures. I think they were called monopods, and
Yeah.
they use it like a little parasol. But
Yeah.
there's a really interesting deep dive on those from Robert Gordon Wasson and Albert Hoffman, the guy that discovered LSD. And they have a really interesting theory that all of those were references to different types of mushrooms in these different areas, because a lot of those features, like for example, having the face in the center, if you like slice a mushroom and look at it from the cap, or the little foot that blocks the sun out, that was also described as like these mushrooms growing up and blocking out the sun from the spores that would fall down. So just another like that one is beyond fascinating to me.
It makes sense to me because I believe everything's fractal and everything's created, and we all go through the same cycles over and over and over from the high to the low.
That would be so interesting if there are these monsters or these little people or these fae or these jinn or these energies, but they're also energies that you might experience off certain kinds of psychedelics in certain parts of the world. So now we're in such this global trade and everything's so mixed mash that in Florida or in Oregon, you can get 100 different kinds of mushrooms if the weather's right. And because everything's been spread out, but maybe the world wasn't like that. There was only certain kinds of cows that had this kinds of thing that were eating this kinds of grass that had this kinds of mushroom, and only this kind of reindeer had this kind of mushroom, and only this part of the year this kind of elephant had this kind of mushroom. And so it might have been a way that if they were on a spiritual quest in the micro macro of it all, if it was something that they could physically touch at one time or spiritually touch at another, because that would be kind of in the way of sitting in the psychedelic, you'd be pulling something out of the etherical into the real world in that Stranger Things type way, or in the instant manifestation of thinking of Adam and Eve, naming everything for each other. So it would be that like dream-like state that if you were in a realm that the energy was different and it was maybe less of us around that were aware of this creative thought, and we could all go and take these mushrooms at certain places and kind of create the world that we see now, like all these different kinds of animals, all this different kinds of climate, all this different kinds of
Fantasia, baby. That's where we live in. This is Fantasia.
But it would be fractaled out in that way of if it was just two homies going around the world doing mushrooms and creating things, and those became 4 homies, then 8 homies, and 16 and 32 and it would the creation and what would happen would be what we'd see before us. I don't know. And the as above, so below.
Well, yeah, because everything here is created. We are created, and everything like legit that we use is creation. We are creating creation, like toys creating toys, like the whole
creature.
You want to know why? Because y'all are God.
We are God matter. We are of God, created of that material. So yes, we are the creators of this realm because we are of that.
We're a raindrop and God's the ocean. That's period.
Is it triggering to anyone, like when you say this idea, like you are God, someone will say to you, that's new age woo-woo.
That's blasphemy. How could you say
that? And it's blasphemy.
But it's
I'm
not
sorry.
new age. It's the oldest philosophies that existed before there were saviors walking.
I feel that my Catholic upbringing makes me feel that every time someone says that, there's part of me that's like, you're going to hell. And it's like, no, get back down. Get back down.
Yeah. Me personally, I always wonder what, like, it's, I always want to ask people definitions, you know what I mean? Because the concept of God is, like I said, very personalized to each individual. And so every concept of God ultimately is completely different when you get down to the specifics of it. So I ask people, I tend to like establish definitions. What do you define God as? You know what I mean? Because if we can start, if I can hear someone else's definition of what it is, that I can more easily answer their question or relate. And then when I hear other people say, well, you're God, and they say it so easily, so quickly, you know, like I hold off for a second. I just think in my head, like, well, I wonder what they mean by you're God. Because a lot of people, some people, they toss that around left and right all over the place. Some people have a deep understanding, you know, and reasons and whatnot, and some people don't, and they're just like, well, you're God, you're a part of everything. Well, are you a part of everything, or are you everything? You know what I mean? Like, and this is a
You think
concept that
entire
I
ocean
like to
in a
dive
single
into
drop.
too.
I think of it as like you are of God. So since you are of God, God can give you the qualities to be the things that he wanted you to be in this existence. Like if he wanted, like for me, like for how I see humans, if we want to connect to certain humans, you can connect. If you want to heal a human, you can heal a human. Like it's all part of that system, that you have to put God, that source, not as a human being or like a person in the sky, but that ultimate energy of everything is what you're connecting to like do the thing. That's what healing is, like creating that triune or that triune of you, the thing that you want to heal, but knowing that source of energy is coming from that place. So that's the Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
For me, as long as you make that connection, that
Yeah.
silver cord, and you grab onto it, that's when you become whole or one with God in that sense.
Well, I mean, because on the other hand, there's some people that just straight up say that because they know it will trigger people or offend, or like I've seen a lot of people do that purposefully, especially in the chat, and they're trying to really trigger Christians or really trigger, you know, certain people that have certain belief systems that are in a part of their core. They'll be like, well, you're all God, you're God, and this and that. And it becomes more of a debate. So me, I feel out energies. If someone's energy is genuine and they genuinely would like to get deep into that subject, man, it's my favorite subject. I'll talk about it and
Hell yeah.
speculate and be, you know, talk philosophy all day long. But if somebody's coming with just like trying to piss people off and trying to like, you know, just throw a wrench into their system because they feel like that's the ultimate way to share their own personal truths, then I don't really want to talk to them about it.
Well, you know, we're all a vessel. We're all, they say this, the throne of God is within you. It is either your mind, your heart, or your gut. I don't know, or it's all three of them connected to get to God, because you need all three to like feel whatever you're feeling inside to make your accurate decision. Thought, cleanse it through your heart. You'll get that gut feeling of it being, is it right or is it wrong? And you'll get your answer. So that spark of light that made you who you are in conception is that essence of
But
God
isn't
that
that right or
resides
wrong?
into you.
Isn't that the MK Ultra? Like, isn't that like the religion and your upbringing and your town and your family? And isn't so much of what you feel like that quote unquote right or wrong is so you don't get the
it
present for
is.
Christmas?
Yeah.
That's true.
It's
Yeah.
like, is Santa Claus going to come
I
down the
see it like
chimney?
this. Like we are all God experiencing ourself, because and that's really what it is that I'm God experiencing God as Abby. You're God experiencing God as Jay. You're God experiencing God as Layla. We have to forget that we're God so
Am
we
I
can
God
be
experiencing life as
yes,
Abby?
you're God experiencing life as Chaney.
Well, the
But
And
deepest
you are also
part,
Abby.
me. We are one.
yeah,
You
there's
are
a
me.
saying.
We are fractals.
Yeah.
And so yes, you are me. And so you can connect to other people by remembering, by seeing the God in them, and you see the God in me. If we see the God in each other, then we
So then we
connect.
Yeah.
namaste.
There's
Yes, we
this
do.
saying,
Damn it.
everything you see
Like a
is
motherfucker.
uh every God created everything you see, so the deepest part of you is the deepest part of me. So it's that.
Our core
Wow,
is
that's like
God.
the Avatar
This
I
sounds like
see
some
you
new age
thing.
bullshit if I ever heard it.
I
If
like
people
it.
can do that, they can
It's the
genuinely
law of
love
one,
each
and it
other the
really makes
right
the most sense
way.
to me.
Well, check this out. This gets back to the apocalypse actually, and my plasma apocalypse ideas that I talk about or whatever, which is the fractal verse. So all of reality is what I call, instead of like multiverses or the universe or the cosmos, I call it the fractal verse because it's looping in on itself and it's repeating over and over and over as a fractal hologram would. And so the universe out there in the mesocosm exists in our actual bodies, and there's universes. If you could zoom in all the way, and this is shown to us in like Ant-Man and like, you know, especially a lot of the Marvel movies and stuff where people shrink down. It's more than Marvel.
Universe.
Carlos
Any movie where
Castaneda's work
people
too.
they
Like,
shrink all the way down and they go into the body, and that's a universe. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we may be on one scale, this is our mesocosm. This is what's normal to us, right? And we just compare here on the mesocosm to what we're used to. When those gods come down from above, or animals or whatever they are from above, traditionally they're gigantic every single time. Everything that drops down from the heavens is huge. Typically, it's gigantic in size. If I believe that we're like in a Dr. Seuss book. I'm going to say, like, not really, but you know what I mean? Like the Who's and Dr. Seuss, all of the Grinch that Stole Christmas takes place on one snowflake. Like, people forget that the whole movie takes place. It's all microscopic and it's all happening on a tiny microscopic scale, but it's relative because that microscopic scale is only seemingly microscopic when compared to the greater universe or the next step up or whatever. But you can go another step down to where that microscopic becomes gigantic and becomes huge, and it's all infinitely fractal. And this is like us being homunculi, or tiny beings that live inside of the mind of another being, or what I say is the mind of God.
Well, here's an instance of that. So Chaney got me an ant farm for my birthday, which is coming up on March 3rd, 3/3. And the reason why she got this for me is because she was watching me stare at the ants, and I was like playing God with the ants and like giving them food and like helping them up their like little mountains so they can get into their into their little hole. And I'm like fascinated by ants, and I'm like, I am your master right now. Like, I am helping you, you know? So it's in that little world that they live in. They probably view us as fucking gods in their whole realm. They're like, oh, look at the gods just walking around.
The gods are angry.
You know?
Yeah. Oh my God, there's so many good connections with that.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, like, I've also
God with ants.
Like
your
a fly.
ant sisters.
A fly will live a matter of days, right? So let's say I leave my house and there's a fly on the wall, then it watches me leave, right? I go to work or whatever, come back 8 hours later. But to the fly, time is much different. And even to my dog or something smaller than me, their metabolism is much quicker. They experience time on a rapid pace. They have like that 7 years compared to humans, right? Dog years or whatever. So time is way faster than them. They're like very much fast forward. That's why they always seem so hyper often. So there's exceptions and stuff, but that's why when I leave and I come back only to a grocery shopping thing at the store, and I come back and I've been gone an hour, that's like 7 hours to my dog. And my dog's like, oh my God, you've been gone forever, you know? And a fly that sees me leave and comes back later on, that's like a third of its life. And it's like, wow, that God is unchanging. Look at it. It's the same as when we saw it when we were children, you know?
This is how I think, bro. Like, oh my God, I'm just like blown away right now. This is hilarious. But I do that with everything. Like, I look at the birds and I'm like, what do they view us as? Or the fish when they see us in there.
Let me ask you, if you're looking at these ants and you're thinking like, I'm their God, is there anything that an ant could do to offend you?
No.
At all? Like, there's like, what if it bit you?
Well, those are fire ants. Those are different. I don't know. That's a different, like, I'm gonna move away from that little, I guess, ant farm. Just move away from it. But if it's on me,
and they're like, "Oh my God, God left us,
bro."
Yeah,
God left.
God left.
There's no more God.
I'll tell you what I have.
You bit God. I told you, you made God leave.
God blooded The earth.
Oh,
Any of
she
those
turned the
bugs come
hose
in
on.
my
She's
house?
cleaning the patio. The floor.
Apocalypse. You just made an antapocalypse, a great flood. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. I won't do it again. And as it's
And
drying,
my
they
little
have a
brother
little
used to love
rainbow.
to stomp on anthills, you know? It's like
Or
earthquake.
fish in a fish
Doug-
tank. What do they think?
Like a few generations later of ants, they tell
Or the-
stories of the great flood that happened. And they said, don't worry, she promised she'd never do it again. And we had a rainbow for a while.
What about like using did you guys like my little brother used to always fry ants with a
Magnifying
glass?
I
And
did
that's
that once,
called
and
the equator.
I hurt my heart. I didn't ever want to do it again.
I'm glad because
sad.
it's sad. It is
I
not right.
witnessed my cousins catching toads and putting firecrackers in their mouths and blowing them up, and I was traumatized. Yeah, it was like body parts everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, it probably like the whole like surrounding area of toads are like, run away, the gods are angry, like it's done.
Yeah, but you were nice. They were like, you were the like benevolent god that they made cities. They were like, if we can stay by her area, this is the safe land. And then, but every time they saw the angry gods coming, they were
Yeah.
like, ah.
I just wanted a toad to turn into a prince. That's all.
Did you kiss any of them? You were gonna, but there was fireworks in their mouth.
That's it.
One of them was gonna turn him into a prince. That would be a whole nother Disney movie.
Flames coming out their butt.
Yeah, that's.
If a bug comes in my house, I kill it, and then I put it out on the doorstep so all the other bugs can be warned.
Spiders too?
Like Vlad the Impaler. Yeah, especially spiders.
No, spiders.
Oh yeah.
Don't kill the spider.
I always
if it bites
catch
me,
moths and put them outside.
It's they need to know. Like I'm sending a
I try
message.
to do everything out, but really it's just because I don't like critters.
I
don't want to kill anything.
Swat a fly. I hate
Cockroaches,
flies.
I'm sorry. Cockroaches and that stuff, mosquitoes, you can kill
I
them.
will tell you something interesting about the ant farm, being a nerd that has had an ant farm in my adult life, but I think it's fascinating.
Chaney.
Everybody should do it. Most people don't do it in their life, or they're not allowed to because your mom tells you, I don't want ants in this house. And so you're never allowed to have an ant farm. But you'll have an ant farm, and inevitably during your ant farm journey, you will a cat will jump near your ant farm and knock it over. You'll hit your dresser too hard and knock your ant. Somewhere there'll be an apocalypse in your ant farm.
Yeah.
And you'll be like devastated for these ants, and all you can do is set it upright. You can't help them at all. There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to watch them get to work. And
I can't pour them in a sifter.
Some of them will survive the apocalypse. They rebuild. They try to build back better. And they start new tunnels, and they you see the old tunnels that caved in, and they pack them away and they build new ones on top of it. But an interesting thing that they do is they build far off in the corner, like a little ant crematorium. And they bring all their dead bodies into one area of the ant farm. And you'll get to witness all this happen inside. You'll get to see the worker ants. You'll see different ones that just sit in an area and whittle away food and put it in. It's like they have a system. They don't all do the same jobs. There must be a few ant managers that delegate pretty well, but it's just there's nobody dead in there. But one day when there's a great ant apocalypse, some of them have to become crypt keepers, and they're like, oh, I used to be a tunnel builder, but now I'm a crypt keeper for the next few days till we get this bodies out of here.
How do you think
nuts
earthquakes
too. There's
affect
a
ants?
queen killer ant that's always on watch to see if the queen starts to deteriorate, and if she does, it'll turn into an assassin and go and take out the queen so that another one can replace. And the second the queen's gone, one of the other ants would just kind of turn into a queen. That is beyond wild to me.
And you have to put them in. You get your ants in the mail, and then they tell you. I can't remember.
Frozen things, yeah.
Yeah, you put them in the freezer or the fridge.
What kind of ants should I get?
You order. It's from a specific place. You get a certain kind of ant and then you get it, and it's in the fridge or freezer. I don't remember what one you put it in, but they tell you to leave it in there for a half hour, and it almost kills all the ants. It probably puts them into some prehistoric state, and then you dump all the ants in there when they're cold, and they all come back to life, and then they just get right to work in their ant farm.
Do you think they talk about the ice age with each other?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Is there a specific species of ants I should get though? Put it in the comments if you guys know.
Want black ants. That's pretty much what you want.
That's it.
Yeah, they work better.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I was
Oh, God,
wondering,
that
like,
was
No.
bad.
if there's older ants, because ants will be born within the ant form. So I wonder if, like, the original ants, when it's quiet and the humans are sleeping and stuff, if they tell stories about the outside and like vague memories they have of like being on this place called Earth and the ground, and then they pass those stories on to like the children ants, and they're just used to like this is their world. And then eventually there's like there's ants that are like, you're a conspiracy theorist.
I swear there's life outside here.
You
Like,
can't
that's
get
how I feel
out.
about animals in the zoo. Like, where they're like, there is life outside this place. Like,
Mhm.
the other
Absolutely.
elephants told us of walking across the Sahara or walking across the Great Serengeti, and the other elephants are inside the zoo, and they've always been there like, no, I'm from a circus. We went around on a train, and that's the only life we've ever had. And like, just think of how different the stories would be inside the elephant world. So
Mhm.
like the ants, they're everywhere, and they're like such a network of like, if you were just to think of the like, I think there's some places in like South Africa and in Australia where they can pour like molten metal inside ant hills, and then they pull it all out of the ground, and it
Mhm.
makes these enormous sculptures. I think
Hmm.
those are so cool. I would have one of those on my
That would
like, if
be a
I was
bad
rich.
way to go.
That would be so horrible.
So is Gog? We need to bring this up. Is Gog and Magog part of the apocalypse scenario?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Where apparently the people from the West come into the West, right, and like come in and flood this area like ants, pretty much, and like they come
Right.
out and they like tear through the whole western side of our country and like
Yeah. Well, like
ruthless
there's a million different
scenarios or
theories
stories.
on that. I found that a lot of people believe that Gog and Magog are, they theorize, well, it's Russia or it's,
China.
some country that exists or whatever. But in the ancient times, West was not left or right, it was down. It was inside of
Mm.
the earth. So coming from the West or being associated with the West meant coming up out of the ground, like ant people, to connect the ant story.
Holy shit.
But there's an innumerable, according to legends, amount of beings and people that are way more advanced than we are up on the surface, that live down inside of the hollows of the earth. And I read this really interesting story called Vril, the Power of the Coming Race, which was set as like a historic record. Like, hey, like, I'm gonna tell you this crazy story. This really happened to me. I was a miner. Me and my buddy fell into a cave that went deep into the earth, and my buddy died, and I walked around and I met people down inside of the earth, like, and he met all these people and stuff. But they talked about this inner earth energy that he calls Vril, and he met these people, just like the Admiral Byrd story, like his lost diary, where he says that he went down inside the earth and stuff. In that story, he meets these advanced people that say there's a storm coming on your surface, and your people are out of control. But back to that Vril book, those people told this visitor, they're like, there's a prophecy, we don't really talk about it that much, but one day something will happen and we'll be forced out of where we live, and we'll come up there to where you are, and we could take you all out easily. Like, if you're not good people, our children could easily wipe you out.
Wow. That's terrifying. You know what's interesting? You talk about the ant people. I don't know if you saw this video. Hey, Britt.
I just have to show
Brittany.
you real quick
She's
because
wearing-
this is something
she's
that we
pinking.
do. She just had to put her bathing suit on. She wanted to let us know, and she just had to put her pink bathing suit on.
Of course she did for the pink series.
Yeah, I just
So
Brittany's always on
I'm gonna
point
screen
with the
recorder.
Secret Society of Good Guys.
always, always.
Look at those are the
She sends
boxers
us
she was
messages.
wearing when she was doing yoga once on Instagram. Those are the same shorts she was wearing where I accidentally saw Brittany's vagina.
Vagina.
And I was watching her like, when these shorts are not going to hold up, you guys. There's no way she should whoop. And then when she went into yoga poses, I was like, oh my gosh, I saw Brittany's vagina. I feel so wrong for this.
So have
I'm
you
sorry,
seen
go
the
back into
video?
the ant people.
No, you're good. The video of this, I guess Mayan or someone from Brazil, but it was from a tribe in Brazil, I believe. And they had this person on a podcast, and they showed this person a picture of what looked like to be lamb. And they said, "Oh, do you know what this is? We call it an alien." He's like, "I don't know what alien is, but we call these," he said it in whatever language they speak, but these are literally called the ant people. And they live within the grounds, and they're highly intelligent, but they're very dangerous. And if you come at them with fear, they will kill you. Like, they will kill you. It was an interesting, I don't know how most of y'all didn't see it, but it went pretty viral. About the ant people in Inner Earth.
Well,
And
Yeah.
we actually have legend in our
in
culture
Nevada,
too.
where I grew up, there's a place called Sand Mountain, and there's this literally just a mountain of sand, and it's displaced. Like everything else around it is a different color, and there's a mountain that's just pure sand. And the Native Americans there, it's actually on reservation land, and everybody goes and takes out their dune buggies and stuff, and like rides up this mountain full of sand. But if you drive by it, you notice it immediately because it doesn't match the landscape. It's a whole different color, and there's no sagebrush on it because that's the Nevada state flower. Anyway, Native Americans legend says that some kind of giant ant went down and burrowed in the ground, and that's why the sand's all up like that. It's so interesting.
Oh my God. So check this out. Oh my God, I've come across so many cool stories. So we talked about bestiaries, which were historic records about crazy, beasts and whatnot, right? We talk about French historic records, but there's also these travelogues. I'm so into travelogues too. Ancient travelogues of people who basically had a diary, and they went out, sailed, or, explored, and wherever they went, they made all these notes about lands that they would find and people and all this stuff, right? One of these travelogues was called the Voyage of the Maldwyn, and it was ancient Irish explorers that went out, and they explored all these crazy islands, and it details like such vivid detail. This thing's like 1,000 years old or something. I can't remember, super old. And it gives this, one of the first islands they stopped at was the island of giant ants. And what they say is they pulled into they were going to ease up onto the land and make port or whatever. But they off in the distance, they saw this blur that was forming on the beach. And as they got closer, they saw there was these ants the size of goats, like giant ants that were forming. And all the crew was freaking out. And they weren't sure, should we sail around? Should we still stop here? And then the ants started making a little ant bridge out onto the water to go out to the boat. And they were like, they
Get
pulled up the
fuck
sails and they
outta
took
here.
off. Yeah. Giant ants.
Holy
and
shit.
that's not the only account too. There's another account in the Middle East where they talk about these giant ants that dig for gold in the desert. And at certain times in the ancient past, these people, would try to take their camels out and go scoop up this sort of dusty gold that the ants would bring up or whatever, because it's really valuable, right? But they had to be really careful, and they had to take 3 camels. One guy would have to take 3 camels so that when they were running away, they would release one of the camels that was the slower camel, and the ants would tackle it and eat it, and it would slow them down, right? So that they could get away. They would sacrifice 2 camels to get away with this bag of gold from the giant ants.
Do giant ants shit giant gold?
They eat
I
it.
wonder if islands that they're not talking about, or simulator creators where these beings are just created and just boop there, and then somehow little by little they just bring them into our realities. I feel like these islands are just different, because they're magic. The Diomede Islands, just how they're, the time of them, and the
What about
difference of
some of them, they say Australia, if you read some psyop book called Sapiens, they say Australia had a 10,000 year, it everywhere else in the world had life and humans on it, and then Australia 10,000 years later. So pretty much the reason that the landscape of Australia is the way it is because humans were so dumb that the only way they knew how to hunt was with fire. And so they lit the whole place on fire just hunting it. And they always have these like,
I believe that.
humans are just so dumb. But really, I think if you look at all these islands, like at Madagascar, Australia, Galapagos, you take these, really, they would just be elite ways of us to go play science in our area without having it messed with. So in this like Xerxes, like Chimera, I never can say that word.
Chimera.
Chimera. And out of all the tries, I couldn't get it right. But the chimera, that it just seems like somewhere it's all the island of Dr. Moreau. Like it's just like them playing God in places and making homunculus and making animals, and then those animals plumb island or get away and become like some Montauk monster.
And that's why we have the platypus. Because of what the fuck is that thing?
Yeah.
It ain't real.
Is it called the platypus?
Duck-billed platypus.
You know what chimera?
What
if
do
I
you
break
think,
it down,
Layla? Do you think it's the duck-billed platypus?
pussy, pussy. Like, who the fuck created that word? Honestly, like, literally, I hate you because there's nothing pussy about the pussy. I'm sorry, but
Okay.
chimera.
Well, some maybe.
Well, everybody gets offended by the word cunt, but cunt was just
I
short
like
for
love the
cunning
word
list.
I
cunt.
like the
because it's-
twat.
I know.
I like
love
those.
the word cunt.
But
Cunt's a good word.
pussy. Come on.
And you know what, like guys will say to like, that guy has a lot of balls. If a girl ever steps to me, ever, I'm always so flabbergasted because one, I'm kind of an intimidating broadie. I'm not tiny, and I actually know how to fight. So anytime a girl like gets catty with me or something, I'm more impressed. Like the dog ate the whole wheel of cheese. Like I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. I am always look at you, broadie. You got a lot of cunt. I always slap it twice. You got a lot of cunt.
Well, a cunt could take a kick. That's all I could say.
It can take a pounding.
But you know what, chimera? It's chimera. So it's like you fuck the fallen. Chimera.
What does that say though, literally?
Chimera. Fuck the fallen.
Does chi means fuck?
Yeah. Me with ra, the fallen.
Yeah.
So when I have good
also-
chi, I have good bucks.
Chimera.
Huh.
That's why I break the words down, because when you that's what syllables are, different words. Like when you go to the
Well, you
lexicon.
start looking at all of the first. We have all the winged deities. That is, you know, you have Gilgamesh and Isis. You have all these, you know, Quetzalcoatl ideas. But after that, right afterward, you end up with all the animal, where you get Thoth, where you get Ra, where you get all of a sudden everything has an eagle head and a man's body. You get this other idea where even they say the Sphinx was changed, where it's like, what is it now with that man's face on an animal body? And so it does seem like if you were to fuck the fallen, you might get all these weird kind of homunculus looking animals like a minotaur and a centaur and all this other thing.
That's literally what the word means. Chimera. That's why I love my language. And then people are like, oh, Greece, the ancient Greek word is blah, blah. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm just telling you guys all right now, all their research, trash. I'm just telling you guys right now, because there's a whole archive that Turkey has kept hidden about Albanian ancient information for I don't know how many years now, and it's all coming out in March.
Well, all of the ancient Holy Roman Empire, when you go all the way back into the old Germanic and everything, they stole that double-headed eagle, and you can see it the whole way through the Holy Roman Empire, all the way back to Albania. You can see the split off where the sovereign state of Russia takes that double-headed eagle, and so the sovereign union, the Soviet Union, takes that double-headed eagle. And like, so
the sun, the star and the moon also taken. Turks took it because of the whole fucking invasion after they came and came into that
The
area, they
Turks,
took that
young
symbol.
Turks are the ones. Every Albania,
Turks.
you know, there isn't a land through that area that the Turks didn't rape and pillage.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're really, out of every genocide that anyone tries to talk about that ever happened on the planet, the only one that you can kind of prove in our life cycle is that the Turks genocided after genocide after genocide. Like where they actually did apocalypse after apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
But Jay was saying, like, even all of the dwarfs and how a lot of them would be all the different humanoid species that existed on the planet at different times, or even dragons, or even mythological creatures that we've
Cyclops.
been talking about. They all had a form of apocalypse. Even these giants like the Nephilim, the fallen, they didn't think their time was ever going to come to an end. And even if there was a great flood, sometimes I theorize, like, if anyone's ever driven to the top of the Rockies, as you drive up, the animals get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller because the rocks get shale and thinner and thinner, and the oxygen gets less and less and less, and eventually you hit a tree line where no more big trees grow. Sometimes I theorize that bigger creatures in a flood, like we always think 40 days, 40 nights, and then the water subsided. What about if it was just rain for 40 days, 40 nights, and the level of water went up? And so the big creatures wouldn't be able to shale the mountains as high. They wouldn't be able to crawl and get themselves up the same way us with our long fingers could. And so really, essentially, all of us right now live at the tops of the mountains. And there might be big, huge animals that maybe just couldn't make the climb.
I think so. I think that the oceans were not always here and that they were introduced. So before they were introduced, there was much more land. And the places where we populate now are the tops or the high places of the old world. And then whenever the oceans are removed during the next cycle, there'll be all this land for people to settle and to explore. That will be the bottoms of the oceans, essentially, and lakes and stuff like that.
So
Great Lakes.
did you ever hear of the whole silica, the world being more silica based and a different type of matter form here? Have you ever heard that theory?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it ties
Versus
with the no
carbon-based,
water theory.
yeah.
Yeah. The whole no water theory or no ocean theory kind of ties with that, they say. So the whole high silica dense reality is just different. I
Yeah.
wonder why, because they also say that we live on corpses and that these are all giants, but that's another theory.
The mountains are giants.
Yeah,
Well,
and that we live on corpses and that
if
things
we
are
were
growing off of the
fractaled,
corpses.
in the idea, if we're the salts of the earth and we were to boil down, if you were to just cook your body down into ashes, so much of your salt water would go off into moisture and then eventually, rain down into places and become ocean. And so if you were giant and everything is a fractaled existence and we're on a world, and we know on a theory, if you zoom into us, we have all this activity going on us.
Yeah.
So the people that theorize that Maui could have been like a laying giant and that where they lit it on fire was its third eye and its heart chakra, and that you actually look at it and it looks like a silhouette of a woman like laying down in the ocean. And so in this idea, you can kind of think that we're walking into cave systems, we're having waterfalls come out of vaginas, or and then we are trying to recreate, like we do everything in that Tower of Babel way. We destroy what was natural and then try to recreate it in a way to, like, oh no, we tore something down that hurts our heart. How do we recreate it again?
But
And
also
so,
the fungi system that connects to that too, and the rotting of it all, and the whole system that connects to this all, that is able to create that.
well, they say like the biggest living organism on the planet is the fungi system under the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
The like
Mycelium.
mycelia. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of ties with that whole theory.
And then if you look at like a Chinatown that's so interesting to them of where they're polluting, I would say our American culture the most in our country, where there's like an actual pollutant of the third eye, I would say it's from San Francisco to Seattle in that Pacific Northwest area, where they're like messy, something's in the water, where I would even gander just my woo-woo broad science, which is like bro science, except we say like more. I just think there's something legitimately in the water, and I bet the percentage of transgender in the Pacific Northwest is significantly higher than anywhere else in the entire world, because it's like a fad and something else going on. They always tell you like, oh my gosh, this reservoir water is the best water I ever had. You can drink it right out of the tap. And I'm like, don't drink the Oregon water. You might transition tomorrow. Like,
There's a city in California that's called Dunsmuir, and it's like they claim to have the best water in the whole world. And they have drinking fountains that like don't have spouts that just go off in the street all day.
They have it in Portland, Oregon too. They
Yeah.
just have constant running water fountains all the time because of the best water.
Yeah.
And they have a town there called Eugene, which is too close to eugenics. Everything about the whole Planned Parenthood system comes out of that whole area. There's too many Chinatowns. Seattle has one, Portland has one, and San Francisco has one.
And New York City.
And you can find every Chinese dignitary hangs out with every politician from there unnecessarily. I'm like, huh? Like low politicians, like city councilmen of towns that you're like, what? Chinese dignitaries? What are these people? And their sister cities are all there, where it's like Shenzhen, China is sister cities with this. And this is this, and the Shanghai tunnel system where they used to human traffic, and is in Portland, Oregon. So
I want to give a shout out really quick to Sevens. He's posting a lot of links on the stuff that we're talking about in the Project Chaney chat and Telegram. So if you're interested in more information, go to the Telegram channel.
Yeah, we have fun in there too, guys.
We have fun. We're going to start the Secret Society of Good Guys channel. But until then, if you guys want to hang out and we post in there and you are on Telegram, you can find it at Project Chaney, and everybody's in there all the time posting rad stuff. And Sevens will probably come on and hang out with us sometime soon. So shout out to Sevens anyway.
Shout out.
I got a question before we get too close to wrapping up, and that's, if we know that there's an apocalypse coming, is there possible and is there value in trying to like convey a message to whatever the next civilization is? So like one of the examples is we send the little rocket out into outer space with like a time capsule that's got all sorts of different information encoded and pictures and music and stuff. And one of the explanations is for aliens to find us and they'll kind of get like a gist of what we're about. But it could also be for like after this big apocalypse comes, like people on Earth find that again, and it's some way to like recapture technology or lessons or learning. Or do you think that's possible to like, I don't know, like bury something or set it aside, like hide something so that after the apocalypse is over, you open it up and you're like, oh, here's the Konami code or whatever. Here's the, how you get past the final boss in Mortal Kombat.
Well, I'd almost think you'd have to do something like super magnetic, or like if you're going to store it on the Earth, you know what I mean? Like something that would be an anomaly. But then here's my question too for you guys. If there was like an atomic bomb, like apocalypse, like Skynet, would you all even want to survive?
Hell to the fuck yeah. I planned my whole life to survive for that reason. Like literally that's why I'm here right now. Like I did not come this far to not get to test my metal in the apocalypse. Like I didn't prep my whole life to get this far. Like let's fucking go. I don't care if it's the UN. I don't care if it's China. I don't care if it's like some trans agenda. I'm like locked and loaded. I've been waiting for this day.
I just don't like the idea of the whole fallout and all that. I'm like, just let me be at ground zero or far up from the fucking explosion.
Do you know what I see happening? This is what I see happening.
This is why we have to protect the mommies, because the mommies have to protect the babies. I'm not the mommy, so I feel like let's fucking go.
If there were an apocalypse and I wanted to create one, this is the best way I see it happening. And it all
allegedly this is for entertainment purposes only.
Get ready for it, right?
I don't even know what's about to happen.
Israel,
like Layla's about to kill men
be the epicenter.
and say something about
for
the
sure,
Jews.
for sure. For sure, you already know. So Israel is going to be the epicenter of it all. They want to build a third temple. Right now, there's talks of like them destroying Al-Aqsa Mosque over there in Palestine, and it's going to happen. They already signed it. The deal's going to happen. They're going to destroy it. Prepare for that. But when that happens, they're going to build a third temple, and when that third temple is built, I feel like they're going to project a coming of the Antichrist and Christ just for the final pull on everyone's worldwide strings, because every faith has some story of this happening, whether it's Judaism, whether it's Christianity or Islam, and many other cultures. When the Antichrist comes, they're going to project that and make it look so real to people that they're going to deceive the entire world thinking that the Antichrist is here. Jesus comes down, kills the Antichrist, and everyone will literally bow down to whatever is happening, literally give away their guns, literally give away their rights. The whole world will completely change. And that's why the whole idea of all three religions combining, which is already happening, which is happening in what country was that where they built a multi three prayer system?
Is that the
they already set up?
realism?
I think so. That has to do with it, but that's how I feel they're gonna deceive the world, and that's what I feel like the apocalypse is to
I
gain
kind
full
of
control.
am more on with the Abbey, but I think you're both right, because I think they're gonna need Skynet, and I think we're all time travelers, and we're here right now, and they've given us all the tools, they've given us all the movies, they've been like, okay, you guys, don't let Skynet get finished, and instead we're all just sitting here playing on Skynet. Like, I can't wait till this becomes the everything app. Like, that's what I think we're up to every day. Like, we're
Yeah.
just watching another rocket go up, watching another rocket go up, watching, and we have time. We can stop it because the Terminator is the prequel to the Matrix. And so we
Yeah.
know all of this, and we're here right now, and we're just all worshiping Elon. It
Thomas,
feels
what would you put in your
wild.
time capsule to save, the next
That's a
people or
good
whatever?
question. What would you
What
put in
would
the
you
time
put?
capsule if an
AR-15.
apocalypse happens? Huh?
Guns.
AR-15,
That's what's up.
pretty much. 'Cause
Weapons.
even if Jesus came back, I'm not giving up my guns. I
Me
don't
either.
care. He'll
Same.
forgive me for it.
I think
I feel the same
America.
way. I don't care if it's an alien. I don't care if it's the Mashiach himself, and he's like, my child, and I'll be like, I have a gun
Bop,
clean
bop, bop,
for you,
bop.
Jesus. I know. Rat, 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 rat.
I think I would be like that movie with Denzel Washington with the end of the world, and he has the Bible and he's
Book of
blind.
Eli.
Yeah, I would be like the Book of Eli and take all three of the books, the Torah, the Quran, and the Bible, and just put that in the time capsule. And just, here you go, guys. Here's a gift.
You're like, here you go. Here's your war for the next 3,000 years.
I put the Gnostic Bible in there so we could have some women represented. In
Here's
the
your
future.
Tower of Babel. Here's
It's
your
fun.
Maybe we'd
religious
have
books.
a.
Ooh, that was loud. It's fun.
You can just put that in with paranoids and you can help them.
We
Like,
need more
you guys
Sorry.
can just combine those.
Hierosgamos, I'm gonna say. Like, so
And
because if
I
last
will
civilization was female
should put my name
worshiping,
in there
then
too.
maybe it needs to be more
Change it to
hierogamic,
Layla.
not so much masculine or feminine, because it's always about the balance.
So
I'll
the
change
next
the
one.
names in there too.
That's what they discovered in Planet of the Apes, the new remake, to like changed their whole world was that gun. They had like this ancient gun that was they kept in an egg. I don't know if you guys have seen that, like the new one.
Oh, I haven't.
But the monkeys had this artifact, which was this like Fabergé egg deal. And the king monkey that remembers like the way the world used to be when the humans were in control, he hid this gun, which was the humans' technology or whatever. And towards the end of the movie, he like breaks it open and he shows his son that was going to inherit the monkey kingdom, like this is how the humans took control of us, and he gives him the gun. He doesn't know how to use it or anything. He's looking at the gun, but he's basically saying like their technology was the key to their ruling everything.
It is. They say
Thomas,
if you strip us
did you
down
watch
to
this
our
movie?
bare necessities, that humans, like we don't outrun a wolf, we don't manhandle a chimp, we're not it's the only thing that keeps us on top of the food chain. And so when you see a shark going through the water, and a shark never experiences anxiety, neither does a lion, because they've had thousands of years to live on top of the food chain. Whereas humans, we only had a few hundred years of living on top of the food chain, and we're quite aware that without our weapons, and they might not even be our guns, they could be our clothing, they could be our shoes, they could be our housing, they could be our fire. Without these things, we
Tools.
immediately fall off the top of the food chain. So our prowess in the world has been for such a short time. That's where our anxiety lies. We don't get to stroll through the ocean like a killer whale. We don't get to walk around like a bear, because we know we're one cataclysmic event away
'Cause
from
we don't have claws, we don't
not
have
being the
sharp
top.
teeth. Yeah.
The only thing we
Yeah.
have is the fact that we can build and work together the same way we've witnessed every other animal work together. So instead of just be mammals or just be fish or just be birds, we can use the tools of all those animals in our tribe. And so very quickly we will become the top again, but we have to work together.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's like a constant anxiety of any moment losing everything, and then also on top of it, a constant celebration. Like, let's bask in this moment, let's have the utmost pleasurable experiences before it's all,
Gone.
before the animals take control once again, and this will
Mhm.
be their world, and people will hide in fear.
And there is some beauty right now. We are the most comfortable that humans have ever been on this planet.
For real, yeah. But
Like,
is that
we
a good
are
thing?
well,
I
it's
thank God every day for air conditioning and heat. I'm telling you.
I
Yeah, whenever
will
someone
tell
says
you,
return to nature,
I
that's
don't
where
mind
my
the heat.
mind goes. It's like, you
as
wanna
a
take my AC away.
I will tell you right
I'm
away, as a
telling you.
person who's lived without power in, like, for long stretches and after hurricanes in Florida, there
Same.
is something so wonderful about a warm shower that you just so quickly like, there isn't a warm shower that I still don't take every single time. Like, it could be my last warm shower. I have that grateful moment of I feel so
I'm so
wealthy.
thankful.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm in the
Yeah.
top 10% wealth on the planet that I get to experience this warm shower anytime I want. Dang, I'm so rich. Like, it's such gratitude to start, like, my manifestation in the
Going to
shower.
jail makes you, appreciate that too.
Oh,
That
yeah, I heard,
speed.
yeah.
Oh
It's
my
like, what,
god.
5-minute showers? Not even?
No, or like in some facilities, it's like whoever the first 3 people that get to take a shower are, they're the ones that get the warm water, and then nobody else after that gets warm water.
Oh, that's
Same thing on a
terrible.
ship though, because there's not always hot water, there's not always fresh water, so you don't always get to
Like on
shower.
a cruise?
No, a Navy vessel.
Oh, I'm like, "What?"
When you
He's
say
like, "What are
not
y'all
always
doing
fresh
out there?"
water,
Yeah.
what is
You
that?
what
You're
you
What is
paying
that?
for?
Sailors.
No wonder you're getting the neurovirus.
Shit, man, that's how you keep your immune system good. You don't
My
shower.
goodness.
It's gonna be I have to shout out real quick before I forget, and I think it's gonna start in the beginning of March, that we started Netflix on Patreon. So we can watch movies with you guys, and you can find it Secret Society of Good Guys, Netflix, and spell it like it sounds. It's like Nephilim with
Netflix
That's
and
cool.
chill.
Wow,
Netflix
yeah.
that's
and chill.
awesome.
And so we have to put it behind a paywall so we can watch movies with you guys and really break, like, if there
Oh, I
is
want to do
something,
that. That sounds
yeah,
so
if there's
fun.
like a
Bet.
Super Bowl, you're welcome to come hang out or like
Hell
pick a
yeah.
movie. We think the first movie we're gonna do is Midsummer. And we might pick
Oh,
some
hell yeah.
scary movies that none of us will like, not that Thomas or other men won't watch scary movies, but sometimes like I won't, and like Abby's like, I don't want to watch this
Damn,
alone.
I'm just like, "Ugh."
Yeah, so we might watch movies that we don't normally take in the group. So if
How
you
cool.
guys want to all join and come hang out, we'll be doing that every Sunday nights.
Are we
And
doing like an hour of like regular podcast and then jumping on to the Netflix, or are we going straight to the Netflix?
yeah,
Netflix.
every Sunday night we'll come and hang out on YouTube for a little while and just shoot the shit of whatever happened over the weekend, and then we'll hop over to the Patreon, and then
Sweet.
hopefully whatever we talk about at the movie we'll put into a good edit and then release it back on YouTube. So it'll be like a
Oh, it's gonna be
thing.
so much fun.
Yeah, it'll be
I just
super
started
cool.
watching Mystery Science Theater 3000 again. You guys ever watch that?
No.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
So good,
Wait,
dude.
repeat it?
Mystery Science Theater
No,
3000.
I haven't.
Well, it's like a TV show where it's really cheesy B movie style. This dude's like trapped out in space and this government agency like wants him to die, but they can't directly kill him, so they force him to watch really bad movies. And then so it shows him and his two robot buddies like in the front row of this big screen, and they watch the movie, and in order to like not die, they have to like keep their spirits up, so they just constantly crack jokes throughout the movie and like make dumb comments about what's happening and like make it a fun time instead of like a lame cheesy
Oh, that's
movie.
awesome. All right.
The
Yeah.
OG guys from that too, they went and made a company called Riff Tracks. And I think you can go to rifftracks. It's rifftrax.com. And they've released like you can get the whole Star Wars series or the whole Harry Potter series. And in addition to having like director commentary and English and Spanish, there'll be like a Riff Tracks track. And it's just them just commenting over all sorts of different movies. I've got so many that are like my favorite version. Like they've got the Room Riff Tracks edition, and that's like a really cool way that they've kind of updated that.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm totally down to Mystery Science Theater and talk shit. And then we'll play the movie and then pause it every so often just so we can talk shit and break down
yeah.
the symbolism.
That's
That's so
of
good.
course we got to do that.
Oh my God. I do that with my son at home. Like we both do that. At first I was like, hey, listen, pause it real quick. Like, cause I have to
tell you.
We have to talk about this real quick. Okay. And then now my son does it. He's like, Dad, pause it. That's kind of like this. You remember how you were talking? And I'm like, yes, oh, I'm so proud of you.
Oh, that's so dope.
I do too. I have to have and I have this pet peeve. I'm really great at knowing the spot in the movie where if they're walking down the corridor, this is a perfect spot for me to lean over to Thomas and say, see that thing on the la da 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 da, and no one's talking. You're not missing anything. My wife is awful at this and it drives me crazy. I'm like, girl, like she'll start talking right at the point they're about to whisper something into the other person's ear. And it's like, this is the key code to the whole movie.
Like, really?
This is the part you have to be quiet for. You're going to be lost in the following movie that's coming next. She's like, hey babe, what do you want for dinner 2 Tuesdays from now? What?
This is why I always watch with subtitles now. And
yeah, same.
Like watching
but I'm
alone.
annoying as fuck because I usually within the first 3 to 5 minutes have to make a prediction about the end of the movie, and I'm always right, and I ruin the movie for everyone. So
I do the
I'll
same
try
thing.
to keep it to
Yeah.
myself, but that's like my most favorite thing to do is read all the context clues right at the beginning.
I hate this. This is another pet peeve, and I understand people are trying to be nice. I have ants in my pants when I'm watching a movie. So eventually I just have to get up. Like I have to pace. I have to go into the kitchen. I have to do something.
That's why
If
commercial breaks were actually a good thing.
Yeah, I'm fine. If you pause that movie and now I have the pressure of you waiting on me, it drives me fucking crazy. My head is so fast.
Yeah.
I've already solved this whole movie. I don't
Right.
need to know the sister's fucking back end and how she met so and so. Like I'm done. Like I am on to my next thing. I am
Yeah.
like, dude, me and my wife have been together for a long time. I have to say, like, don't pause it. You
Yeah,
can keep
don't
watching it.
pause
You're
it,
the one that needs
please.
every context clue. You're the one that needs them to take the detail. She'll be like watching it all in there. I'll know the ending from inside the kitchen while I'm cooking dinner. I'm like, I already
Yeah.
know this. And she'll be like, oh my gosh, I think
Yeah.
so and so. And I'm
I
like,
figured it out in the first 5 minutes.
yeah, that's why I got up and walked out. But I know it drives some of my friends crazy because me getting up gives them anxiety, and them pausing the movie gives it's like, oh.
Yeah.
So I just tell
Especially if
people,
it's
don't watch a
scary
movie with me.
because then they're by themselves. They're
Yeah,
like,
don't watch it with me.
that happened to me when I was watching The Ring when it first came out. I was with this girlfriend that I had, and it was late at night, and The Ring just came out, and we rented it and stuff. And like, we're in our little apartment we had, and lights were out and everything. And I'm like deep in this Ring movie. I'm like, this is scary. My God, right? I'm like watching the chicks coming out of the TV and all kinds of crazy stuff. And the phone could ring at any second. And I'm like, don't pick up the phone. And then I'm like, it's all quiet, right? And then I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. And she was asleep. And I was like, fuck. Oh, she's asleep. What if the phone rings? What if I'm looking at a TV? Oh my, anything could happen right now. And I'm like, hey, did you fall asleep? Oh, you want to wake up?
No, I was
freaked out.
You're like freaked out. You watch the whole movie. You're like in it now. You're like, okay, this bitch is asleep. I'm in this movie. Now I finish it. Okay. Next day, she's like, I can't wait to watch this movie. I fell asleep last night. I'm so sorry. You're like, you know what? I'm going to watch it again because it was good. I'll watch it again for you. So you friggin' watch it again. She makes it to the thing. You're like, this bitch did not fall asleep again. I'm watching this movie. I'm trapped in this movie again, and she's asleep again. I'm not like, I get so like, just like,
oh my god,
this is my favorite. Oh, and I like, but I don't know she's asleep until it's the time I need her to be there.
Yeah, it got worse though. Check this out. So after she fell asleep and I had finished the movie, it was all quiet, and I'm like, I'm gonna go turn on the living room lights or something, right? So like I'm quietly trying not to wake her up and stuff. And then like I heard something in her son's room, and her son was like, I don't know, 3 or something, really young toddler, right? And like it's all dark everywhere, and I didn't turn on any lights or anything. So like I'm feeling for his doorknob, and I open up the door, the bedroom door, and I'm trying to let my eyes adjust so that I can go in there. And then slowly I start to see this tiny little silhouette of a person standing right in front of me, just staring at me. And I was like, ah! And then he freaked out, and I turned on the lights, and it was just her son that woke up. And for some odd reason, he was just standing there staring at me. And it was the creepiest thing ever.
The only thing that would have been creepier is if he was laughing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it reminds me of Gage from like Pet Cemetery. Why are children the scariest things ever?
Gage from Pet Cemetery is one of the scariest kids, though. He doesn't get enough credit for being one of the scariest kids.
Oh, because he was so adorably scary.
You know
what? He was not cute. When you look back, you'll be like, oh, he was a creepy kid. I would never want him out of my womb.
Well, I don't think that I would think he was cute now because he scared the shit out of me. But I'm saying he was cute before
he was an
he
Achilles
became...
heel. That's all he cut Frankenstein's. He cut George Monster.
I know that traumatized the crap out of me.
Tendon.
You know what kills me? When you're watching a movie, so and they're watching with you. So what's going on? So who's this character? And they're watching with you. And it's like, are you watching the same movie as I'm watching? Like, are you here?
Just listen.
Like, just shut up.
Yeah. What's happening as they're telling you what's happening right
now? I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I've never seen the movie. How about we just watch it together and find out what happens?
Yeah.
Because I've never seen this movie.
Like, this is what's happening, and this is what's happened so far, as he's talking to another character, and they're like, what's happening?
I'm a fortune teller because I know the movie.
I will be like,
we're going over some etiquette.
Yeah, this conversation between the sisters right now isn't fucking important. They're setting up the backstory, so don't talk right now.
Just listen.
This little conversation that you don't think's important over the breakfast table is them setting up their entire family history in 2 minutes for you. Shut it.
I also thought the kid from The Shining was creepy too. Like even though he was supposed to be like one of the protagonists,
Danny.
Danny was weird, man. Like I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, what are you doing with your Apollo 11 shirt? And
the Sixth Sense kid was creepy.
Just driving around like the saw puppet. You know, Danny's driving around the freaking place.
I'm gonna be real though. I have been the last week of my life looking for adult trikes like that. Like I want a grown one that I can pull a brake on and hydroplane across my road. I'll get my guy friends to get one too. And we will have an old school plastic trike gang, but I want an adult one.
I used to have a Dukes of Hazzard one when I was a kid. My brother had Knight Rider. I had Dukes of Hazzard.
And I feel like they'd be a good workout. They're like lower to the ground, so they're actually better for your knees and hips because you don't have the gravity's not real. You don't have density.
I love you
for that. Are we talking like big wheels trikes, or are you talking like
big wheel? Like I want a plastic.
Yeah, where you kind of lean back.
Yeah, like the seat.
I
want the whole setup, and it had a brake on the side that if you pulled it, you could totally do before Hulk Hogan's son was killing his friends in cars doing it. We were doing it on trike, and we were like totally peeling out. And I just think it would be the bomb. I want this. I want it built the same. I bet you I could find one. But those old lady bikes aren't bad. I see why, but I'd get one of those
With the
motorized.
little flag on the back.
Hell yeah. I'm like, the way they get these engines now up with the mopeds and around here in Florida, because there's so many motorcyclists, they get up to 35. So I just have to cut across US 1 because, there's some roads you'd want to stay off of in Florida and not be in a motorcycle or you're going to get killed. But I'm like, a trike? Could I make this work for myself as a grown up? People would be like, oh, look at her. She has a DUI.
Why is that? That like in my town, the only people I see riding bikes are freaking adults that look like they have DUIs or multiple drug convictions.
Yeah, I
don't
worked
see
at
a
a
lot of
bike
kids riding
shop
bikes
for a
anymore.
while, and I was a bike
Yeah.
repair person, and I loved riding my bike to and from work. I would park my car a lot of the days and just preferred my bike. And there was like 2 years in town that people just thought I had a DUI. And I didn't know this was a rumor about me. Like I didn't even drink, and people just like, "Oh, Chaney must have a DUI." Like, no, I just preferred riding my bike, you losers.
I can't
That's
believe
crazy.
people think that way. I would have never thought that until this very moment. Now that everyone I see riding a bike, I'm gonna think they have a DUI.
Well, because in New York or in Portland or in a big city, people ride
That's
bikes, and
normal.
that's
Yeah.
why I rode my bike in Florida because I came from Portland where I rode my bike everywhere, so I was very comfortable on it. And so when I came back here, I was just like, "Oh, this is fine." And people are like, there wasn't even bike lanes. People don't even know
Yeah.
bike rules here. People drive in the opposite direction, coming at cars, sometimes
Yeah.
on the sidewalk. There's no bike etiquette
I
here.
love Florida.
Well,
Love it.
also, in Florida,
it
and you
here.
see someone riding a bike, you also think that they've got DUIs because you wonder, like, do you not value your life? Because so many people die just getting hit because they were on a bike because no one in Florida cares about people on bikes.
Yeah, they don't. They don't. Yeah, they don't.
This is so silly, but have you ever been a little kid and seen somebody on a lawnmower and thought, I would drive that?
Yeah. That was me.
I always wanted to drive one.
Mhm.
I had a lawn company and I didn't like to drive the mower. It just felt like I wasn't doing as much work. So I always chose to weedy or edge most of the
I
time.
want to drive a mower. I
But
want
the
to,
zero
pull a
turn,
crane. I want to like dig holes with the big. What
There's
is
a
it
Come
place
called?
in
visit me in
Vegas you can
Oklahoma,
do all
Layla.
that.
You can
You
ride
could
mowers.
do that. I would love to do that. That
oh my
sounds like
gosh,
so much fun.
Layla, next time you come and visit, I'll take you to around Big Machine.
Dude, that would be so much fun. Get high, like smoke a
Well,
blunt,
you
and just like fucking
you
dig
can't get
holes.
super. You know that thing where they're like, "Don't work heavy machinery."
Dude, why
That's the heavy
not?
machinery they're talking about. But I will say, because it's like even in a little forklift that looks
A
small,
forklift. There you go. Yeah, I would do that.
that will you could just easily kill a man with a forklift. Like the
Yeah.
amount of power in it and the amount of stuff. That's why they tell you don't operate heavy machinery, and then they drug test everyone if anyone gets hurt around it because
Mm,
it's like so
like, were you
deadly.
high?
Yeah, well, it's like one little flick of the switch, like one little oop, and then
That's it.
disaster.
I
Yeah.
love seeing those people on the news. Like every once in a while, there's this crazy story of someone that got a hold of some crazy heavy machinery and went on a rampage through some city. Like there was a tank. There was one time this dude had a tank.
Yeah.
I'm like, how'd you get a tank, dude? And I'm always rooting for those people on the news. Like in California, I always rooted for when there was cop chases. Like I've always wanted to like get the person to get away or whatever. I saw one guy being chased by the cops, and he was on the freeway, and there was like 100 cops behind this dude, and they had a helicopter, and then he hit a fog bank, and boom, that dude was gone. And I was like, yeah.
Were you rooting for OJ?
No, I was pissed because the cartoons were supposed to be on right around the stupid time that happened, and then they put the dumb thing on the TV. None of my Disney afternoon, none of my regular scheduled cartoons I like to watch at
Do
the
you
time.
think the OJ chase is the thing that saved our generation? Like, there's something I keep trying to like pinpoint what is the thing that saved us from being, even if you look at your most slept Gen Xer friends, like early Gen Y friends, they're still like kind of woke. Like most of them, they know JFK was, they are like, yeah, 9/11. Oh, the Bushes are corrupt. Oh, the Clintons are corrupt. Like most of them. And so I'm like, what is this thing we all seem to have done that we are this tiny little woke spot? If you were to pick the most woke, I would feel like per capita, it all fits in this little generation of people. So I'm like, is it that OJ trial? Because we were like, this is such a psyop because it ruined our childhood. It took off all our cartoons, all of our daytime programming, all of our weekend programming. Everything was that trial for our whole, it was like it forced us to go outside and play again. It like that trial did something where it was everything. It saturated us.
Maybe I could think of a bunch of things that were like that. There's the Rodney King was similar to that, and the riots that happened in Rodney King, which were actually I liked watching that on the news. I thought that was fun. I'm all about the destruction and people going nuts and stuff. I'm like, wow, this is awesome.
The
I
Rodney
lived
King
in
riots, were those right before the riots that happened with OJ?
I don't
Because
remember.
the OJ riots, there was the huge one where they lit all of South Central on fire and shit
Mhm.
right beforehand because an Asian lady shot a black girl, I think, in her store. And so there was a huge riot. They lit because they were like, look at all these probably Chinese people are all in our towns. They all have liquor stores and shit in our community, and we don't own anything in these communities. So we don't care if we light it on fire. And so there was this whole other big uprising in Los Angeles happening when the OJ Simpson thing happened on top of it. So the rest of America was like, oh, look at black people are mad because OJ got arrested. But that had nothing to do with the real reason they got mad. So the reason that they tried to pacify Black America, they say, like if you're not looking into the total psyop of it all, was allowing OJ Simpson to get off because he had white man money.
I don't know.
But that's how we would never know any of the Kardashians if not for that trial.
I still don't know them. I don't know
They're
anything about
blocked
those
on everything
chicks.
I have. I don't want to see their faces. I'm just ugh.
You think it's so, but then they find a way of creeping in. You could just Travis Scott. You could just Kanye. You could just be watching basketball. You could just be turning on a magazine and be into Marilyn Monroe. Like Kris Jenner is probably the most successful manager in Hollywood right now, and she's just running her kids and everyone they date.
Look, y'all, being a bodybuilder and a person, who is I'm a personal trainer, like just do yourself a favor and actually watch the Kardashians working out because it's the most bogus bullshit I've ever seen. Like they're trying to act like they don't get their bodies by paying a plastic surgeon, and it's the funniest shit. It's the most
I think it's so
bozo
funny watching them
workouts I've
cook.
ever watched.
As a chef, I watching them cook or do it like the mom will be like, Kendall, do you want me to get the chef? And she's like, no, mom, I'm fine, holding a knife, like about to cut a cucumber. And her mom's like, are you sure I could just call the chef into the kitchen? Like they're horrified watching them play with just like the easiest utensils. I don't know. I just think it's like part of the witching of the entertainment television, but none of that would have happened without Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And then the Bruce Jenner, which was the walk into the entire trans agenda.
Yeah.
They were like, let's take the most quote unquote masculine triathlon or whatever decathlon in the world and make him a woman. And then to boot, we'll never let him change his voice. We'll still let him talk like Bruce Jenner the entire time just to really just bother people. So he's like, hi guys, want to go golfing? But he's still like the same voice coming out of Caitlyn Jenner. It's wild.
I think all of those are super interesting because like I really like watching people and societies and just taking note, especially like how fast a whole group of people can just change or be swayed or, start rioting or whatever. That's why I think one of the things that did really like help to quickly change our society was the reality shows, like just in general, Road Rules and all that old school MTV reality shows that first kind of started many things. And just watching because they represent us and we can see how we collectively, can easily like team up or join together or band together, or there's outcasts, and it's like our entire world in one little show. and it shows us like how primitive we can really be. You know what I mean? Like especially with the riots and people's, teaming up and banding together about one idea or another idea,
Yeah.
and how quickly it can landslide.
Well, every reality show is essentially just Lord of the Flies with
Yeah.
different themes, right?
Yeah. Totally is.
By the way, I was promoting Paranoid American stickers. Okay? Don't forget, they're fucking awesome. Just doing my
They
job.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ParanoidAmerican.com.
paranoidamerican.com for all of
for
your
dinner.
best. I think the best thing about paranoidamerican.com and Paranoid American Gifts is that where else are you going to find this kind of stuff to put in like your friends' packages? Like you got to go to paranoidamerican.com.
This is the only reason I'm here and doing this is because I wanted like a Hunter Biden party pack and no one else was making
Yeah.
it. So I feel like I'm obliged to do you know what? It feels like when someone goes to the fridge and they take like the last soda, or they're like, "Oh, there's no cold whatever in here." Like now it's on you to go and put the warm soda into the fridge because you were the one that saw that it needed to be in there, or if like, and I feel like that's my obligation. So I go and I say, "Hey, there's no Jim Jones sticker sheet out there." So it's like my obligation to make it.
Yeah. I'm glad
Or
you
you
did.
might be like, there's no Heaven's Gate
Yeah.
sticker
Yeah.
sheet.
That
There's
one's
no
classic.
holographic Heaven Gate sticker sheets. Why is
I was
that?
gonna bring all
Why
my Paranoid American merch out tonight too.
why is there no Lisa Frank inspired serial killer sticker sheets? Well, now there is. Why is
Why
there no
can't
Freemasonic pinup stickers? Well, now there is.
why can't I get my Starbucks logo that everyone looks at my thing and then they're like, "Oh." Yeah, that's my favorite is to just randomly leave these on my work. I have 2 tables at my work in the public area, and every once in a while, I'll just go put a sticker in one of the magazines for somebody to find.
Nice.
Yeah, that one's dope. The one that I am gonna get tattooed on me, though, I was hoping I had a postcard of it in my stuff so that I could surprise you with it, but now I'm like, I'm gonna have to just ask Paranoid American for this to get it tattooed on me, but I am gonna get the Florida Girl Hermes. The Florida Girl
Oh yeah,
Phyllis.
no, I'll send you a
She's
high-res version of it.
Yeah, I'm getting her tattooed on me. She'll be my arm tat up my bicep.
I
She's so
haven't done
dope.
that one on a postcard yet, just because I haven't decided if I want the you can see the nipples through the shirt version or the like pasties through the shirt version.
I think you need a calendar. Like, these are things that
Ooh.
I still have a calendar all the time on my fridge. Every single year, I get a
Yeah.
calendar. I everybody thinks that they like, I know every woman I know still has a paper calendar.
Yep.
I'm intimidated by calendars because you got to print them up and then you got to sell them that year. Otherwise, you've just got a whole bunch of calendars that are worthless. The one thing I've thought of is like the old school calendars that you'd actually see in like the old mechanic shops and in the lockers. It's usually a single picture and then they'll like staple a little tearaway calendar to it. I might be going that direction.
Oh, I like those too. I think that the one thing you could do is you could just get enough of them made, and then if they don't sell, you cut the top off of them and you frame them, and then you have framed images that you sell at your events.
I like it. I like calendars.
Like, I'm always about repurposing. So that's what Vargas used to do. He used to do all his pinup shots. And so he would make calendars, but they were expensive to make. So he would cut them and then sign them and put them behind things. So every once in a while you could find a signed Vargas, but most of the time, because there was these going around, signed Vargases, the look of a signed Vargas became its own thing. So you can find them in magazines, and they're actual cutouts of magazine where they're just a page out of a magazine that someone framed now, and that's worth money because it's a mocking of the original thing that he did, but it's like a signed Vargas behind a picture. It's so weird.
Very
So
meta.
yeah, but it's it's like original pinup girl art. It's pretty old. So I don't know. I used to be really into it. I used to back in my single days, I had a bunch of Vargas pinups. You just look at Layla.
That's just
That was funny.
fucking weird.
What
It's
just happened? Did
It
you
wasn't
get
as
leg
intense
cramps?
as last week, but what the?
Okay, let's talk about it
You
because
getting cramps again?
somebody this
I
is
got one
because
first.
we have some witch giving the
Yeah,
girls the evil eye.
somebody's giving
This
us
is
the
what's
evil
I
eye.
bind you, bitch, from doing harm.
Because I got one
Fucking-
first. Like True caught it in the chat. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I had a freaking major quad cramp. It was really, really bad. And
I
then
saw it on
yeah.
whatever show that you with
Oh,
Bootsy.
yeah, with Bootsy the other night too. But I just had
Uh-huh.
one just now, right before you. So it's weird you just got one.
Yeah, that's why she went
Oh.
off camera before, and that's why knew you came back on with a leg cramp, even though we haven't discussed it. And I was like, "Did you both just get?" So then I'm like,
And
"I
that
have
happened to
to."
us
bitch
before too.
Yeah, so
doing
a
harm,
different time. So
harm
I'm
to
like,
me, harm
"Stop."
to yourself or others, bitch. I had to say it.
But sometimes I think it's like I thought an interesting thing. If you think a baby is so cute, you'll go, "Oh my god, you're so cute." Poo, poo, poo. To like in your culture
We
to
do that.
even yeah, that's what I'm saying. To even out, sometimes you can love something so hard, you're messing with its flow. Like you're giving it so much good, it's gonna take a dump afterward. So either
The swing
the
of the
evil
pendulum.
eye or too much love.
Or something, because this is weird. Yeah, someone said salt water, Layla. Listen, I was drinking olive juice today. That's the saltiest of waters you could drink, and beautiful for your body too. But this is some juju shit, because it's
And I
not
do.
random. She drinks water
I
like
drink a lot of
a
water.
motherfucker.
And I
She'll be
salt
getting
my food
cramps.
like a bodybuilder, which means I don't have to limit my salt at all.
That's just
I
odd.
don't.
I'm a little superstitious, so that's why I'm just like, I
I
bind
just
you,
feel like
bitch.
me and Thomas don't ever have leg cramps.
What is
You
that
know
supposed
what?
to mean, Chaney?
Every once in a while, if I wake up, there's like a
No one's
certain way that if I
looking at
stretch,
me and
I
Thomas
know I'll
and
get the
going, hubba
cramp.
hubba. I think
just
the
gotta, like,
evil eye
stop it.
usually comes with hubba hubba. But I did get a leg cramp in the last week and a half in my sleep, which I
Dude,
haven't had in a long time.
there's women who like kill babies just because of their jealousy. Like they're like a new family, and there's this bitch that comes along and is like, "Oh my god, your baby's so cute." But in her head, she's like, "I hope your fucking baby dies. I hope you and your fucking husband split the fuck up and wish you the worst." That's why you be careful whose house you eat from and who feeds you. Be careful. It's just intention behind what people give off. Their feeling is more stronger than the words that they spew. Their intention is so much that's their authenticity showing. Their authentic feeling of whatever that is can be powerful and it can kill. It can
Have you ever
literally
heard
kill.
of cute aggression?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm so nervous. I'm gonna snap my front teeth doing that. I'm so nervous. I don't know why. It's an actual fear I have sometimes that I'm gonna snap like one of my front teeth.
I'm like, or bite the shit out of my lip so I don't crack my teeth.
Yeah, I sometimes I feel like certain people just do certain things, even like my friends or family or like my wife just does something and I also get that same like, "Oh my gosh, that was extra cute."
Or just go,
Yeah. Oh.
squeeze the shit out of you, but I can't.
Well, part of that I've read is that cute aggression is because if you like over pamper something, then you're not giving it the same type of protective treatment. So part of you is like, you're so cute, I want to kill you, or like, I could just eat you up. But part of that is because it's your brain basically like seeing where your limits are at. So, and it's the same thing with like you're in a car and some people are like, what if I just open the door right now? What if I just jump out right now? Or like you're on the edge of a building. What if I just jump off
thoughts?
the building?
I want that.
But those thoughts are really, it's to like put yourself back in the check to make sure. So like the cute aggression, like as you're being like, oh, you're so cute. And you're like, I could murder you right now. Like that part of it is to trigger the protective aspect of you again, because if you stay in that like cute pampering mode too long, then you don't get to go into that like protective mode. So it's your own brain like making it happen.
I'm gonna remember that whenever the plasma possessed debate comes up between us in the car.
It would be like, Thomas, please don't drive off the bridge right now.
Yeah.
Just you know what would be a funny thing to just be sitting in the passenger seat with people and just start saying your intrusive thought like it's theirs and start being like, don't drive into that tree. Like, don't just drive onto oncoming traffic. And they're like, what? And be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, that was my intrusive thought. Oh shit. Do you guys have any other apocalyptic stuff that you looked into or want to bring up before we bid adieu?
Do you think the apocalypse is gonna happen? I don't think so.
I didn't think Skynet was going to be as fun as it is. So the apocalypse is way more entertaining than I guess I ever thought it was based on movies.
This is the timeline I want.
But maybe we all should do our homework and rewatch the Terminator and Matrix movies because they're all intertwined.
Maybe we'll have to watch them on Netflix, which you can find that link on YouTube in somewhere in here. I put it in the bio. I don't know how this works yet, but I know it's in the bio in this room somewhere.
It's somewhere up there.
Space. Netflix. I can't. It'll be fun. So it'll start in March.
Yeah, and check out for the algorithm.
Yeah, this is something so crazy. Layla and I were just talking, and the simulation likes to give like Anthony Weiner, and then he shows his dick online. Like we get these names, Sam Bankman, and then he gets in trouble for bank stuff. It's like they always do this. And then we were talking. She said the algorithm, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Layla! They said he created the internet,
and I didn't know that."
And I was like, "That's like the whole thing about Al Gore." So isn't that so funny that it's the algorithm that we
such a simulation?
Algorithm,
such a simulation.
So
we're already in.
That's why I love words. I love
Paranoid American just wrote a new song in his head.
I was breaking words down. You know how I keep breaking words down in like sections? I'm like Al Gore.
And we're finding it really fun because I have a bunch of Latin etymology. My dad was a Latin professor. I have like some roots in it, and Layla has all her Albanian etymology. And so when we're attaching words, it's blowing our mind sometimes with like some of the digs that we're doing. And we're both finding the same kind of triggers for us that like I'm not a Christian and she's not a Muslim, but I come from Christianity and she comes from the Muslim religion, and that we're both triggered by the bastardizations done on these religions. Like, even though we're not those things, we are both like, well, that's not how the book is written, or there shouldn't be any engraven images. The Catholics are doing this. You shouldn't be confessing your sins. And she's like, oh, the Talmud is so different than the Hadith. And this is what they're like, these two things are going on.
The Quran is different from the Hadith.
The Quran. And then like we were talking about the Jewish religion and how they have the Talmud, which is so different. And we were talking about like, did all these switches of religions all happen around the same time as well, where like King James swoops in with the Shakespeare Bible? And then here comes this whole new version of, the Quran. And here comes this whole new write-up of the Torah. And here comes the Cliff Notes of Buddhism. And like, did this all happen at the same time that
maybe because when the Hadiths were written were like 200 to 300 years after the Quran was written. So a lot of what Muslims follow today are the Hadiths and not the Quran. And the proper way to read the Quran is if you know the Semitic language of etymology and breaking down each word and figuring out what the meaning of each word means. And people are not even reading it properly. So they're going by bastardization of like pedophilia, women control, drinking the urine of camels, and like this weird, like what the hadiths are. They created like a religion based off of Muhammad and like worshiping Muhammad, which you're not supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be worshiping God. And that's where like my fucking blood boils. And I'm like, you guys are fucking illogical, and you guys are going to wake up today, but keep practicing like your fathers. So amen with that.
Yeah. I think that happens in many religions, like especially in Christianity. I've had so many debates where I'm like, yeah, but I mean, didn't Jesus say this? Like, well, Paul says this. I'm like, I just said, didn't Jesus say this? That trumps your whatever you just said.
Duh.
You know what I mean?
Fuck.
Oh, you know what else is crazy too? Like, speaking of going back to the original languages and reading them and stuff, it's so interesting. I was doing this one Truth in Movies breakdown on Stargate, and I was looking at the Egyptian hieroglyphs that were used in the movie Stargate, and I was learning. I was soaking in so much about hieroglyphs. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like there's rules, and there's this and that, and this is they drew in picture form and stuff, and I was so into it. And I, as a part of that, I also, man, there was this part in Stargate where they were trying to communicate when they were on this alien desert world. They were trying to communicate with these like
I love that movie.
Locals, right? So the guy is like, oh, well, I'll just draw it in the sand. He starts to draw, and the dude's like, oh, don't do that, don't do that. And then it dawned on me, because I have transliterated the 10 Commandments from modern Hebrew into Paleo Hebrew or Phoenician, and that one commandment, you shall not make any graven images, all of a sudden like neurons fired off in my brain, and I'm like, graven means draw. Graven means to draw. And originally languages that are now written, they're all just little pictures that have turned into glyphs that are unknown these days. And I'm like, we're not supposed to write. Like, we're not supposed to, like, actually just writing out a word goes against that commandment literally.
Because it's magic.
Like, it goes. That was so mind blowing.
But then that makes me be like, but why not? Why don't
Here's
they
why
wanna,
I
Because
don't
Jeff
think.
Bezos wrote the Bible.
you
Yeah,
know?
well, I think that all the original deities were all women, and so if you start engraving these, like the original Venus of
That's true.
Willendorf, the oldest one, before there was any of these rules and laws and commandments and constitutions, it was
She's the
like
second son.
she was just the Venus of Willendorf. And so if you look at everything, even in the Bible, of Moses going up to Mount Sinai and how his face melts off seeing God, that's all the rules of her, the Afro deity. So it's just so much of the stuff is it seemed like a lot of the rules of, you can't engrave God because you don't know what it looks like. You should never conceptualize what it looks like. You're putting a binary on how magnificent it can be the second you put it in flesh. And it's
Yes.
not supposed to be in flesh.
In Islam, they hide the idea of Allah's 3 daughters. There's 3 daughters. If you go in Jordan, old Mecca, the first Mecca that they're lying to everybody about, is there. Muhammad's cave where he got the whole revelation is there. The engravings of Allah's 3 daughters are there. And it even mentions it in the Quran, but the Quran says, no, don't even go into that rabbit hole. You don't need to go there. But why not? What if they're the daughters of Allah? Why aren't we allowed to know who these daughters are? If they are
The
of
wombs.
God.
And when you guys were talking about it earlier as well, of the only reason they would make a rule that the brother or a kinman has to take control of this wife is because her womb was that valuable. The idea, because think of how many sperm you can have in a day. So if it was just about procreating your village, then I'm just going to send my men out to procreate with all the wombs. I'm not going to have 5 men procreate one womb. That's a waste, unless the womb is the value. And I knew that the womb was a value, and so I had to hide it in surnames. And so then you think of the serf and the sir, and so the way that you hide the Mary is in the sea. That's how they've always done it. The Mary time, they always hide the Mary in the sea. So I just think that's where it kind of is, that in the surname is where you hide the womb.
Like the surf is where land and water meet too. Like right there.
Terramar.
The surf.
The Ghislaine Maxwell's company, Terramar.
I love conversation. I could like talk like this for hours. Like this is my fucking shit. Like talking about the realms of it all. I love it. Love this.
The three daughters of Allah, that kind of reminds me of in Norse mythology, there's three roots to Yggdrasil. And from my studies, Mari is the crystal clear waters that surround Meru on those ancient maps. There's a lake right around it, and they're crystal clear. There's no impurities whatsoever, so they're virgin waters, and they're very dark too. So they're very dark waters. So the Mari is black. It's a black sea. It's very dark because the sunlight just keeps on going. There's nothing to reflect the sunlight back. So it's a very dark water. And there's these three root systems to Yggdrasil. And I speculate that there are, like I said, the anode and the cathode plasma volcanoes on each side of Meru itself, which would be three wombs, or, symbolically three females of the earth that give birth or are a part of, this celestial plasma figure that people have seen in the skies.
So what were all the names again? Or do you know just one of the names? Because I'm trying to compare it to the three daughters. One's Al-Lat, Al-Uzza, and Manat.
I'd have to take a look at it.
Huh.
And I think Mar.
Why would they hide that?
More.
And the three daughters of Eve. There's the whole story on that. Did you hear that? There's the story of the three daughters of Eve.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what is this like hidden truth that they're hiding? Like,
yeah, there's often also legends about
That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting
three
for
daughters that
you.
are petrified or turned into stone.
Noah's wife, who was relegated to the word wife.
I know. And also that she was probably, there is a good chance that Moorish thing of everything that you see in Maleficent, of what she represents in that movie, that Disney, that is probably what Noria looked like and how she dressed. Like she probably had huge horns that she wrapped. She was probably a Moor. People get so upset about it, but all that wardrobe is all Moorish wardrobe. If you look at the ancient Moors and how they all dressed, they had antlers, which would be like.
Well, so did Illyrians too.
That's from Chernobog, the Black God, which is what they would worship on Walpurgis night, however you pronounce it.
Donnie Wahlberg night.
Yeah, Wahlberg. That's when you punch an Asian guy in the face.
That's Mark Wahlberger night.
Meru sounds like Mary, by the way.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's like the Mar, the Mur, the Moor is all the sea, all of it. So when you're saying a Black Sea would be a holy sea, like that would be the Virgin Sea, then there has to be the other Mary. There has to be the Mary Magdalene. There has to be the Mary Deline. So there never is one Mary. There never is the Virgin Mary alone.
Mother Crone.
She doesn't.
It's probably the same thing every
even
time.
with the Christ, she isn't there alone at the end. She isn't there for the resurrection at the end. Magdalene's always with her, and so they always like you. Where you even are like you never after the birth when the Virgin Mary comes back again, you never see her depicted or even spoken about without Magdalene.
Yeah, and there's three Marys at his when he ascended from that cave or whatever and was resurrected. And one Mary is always, associated with being dirty. And if you have an electrolytic system, right, you've got like, man, I don't know how to explain it. So anyways, you got, you have to have salt water or water that has an electrolyte that you can pass electricity through it. One side will have the anode, the other side will have the cathode. In the middle, you have the energy source, right? So we would have one mountain. If you look at it from, the Earth being an electrolytic cell or a type of cell, one mountain would be a positive energy. The other one would be a negative energy. And one of those would take away under the waters. The one mountain would actually degrade and give parts of itself off that would go over to the other mountain. And that would be typically the anode. and underneath it, it creates what's called an anode sludge or mud. And so those waters around that mountain would be muddied waters. They'd be dirty waters, and it'd be more shallow than it's, the corresponding one or whatever. So that would be like the Magdalene or the dirtied one or the defiled one or whatever of the Marys, if there's three Marys. It also reminds me of the Three Marlenas song from the Wallflowers from like the 90s too. That's what that means, is the three Marys, the three Marlenas, the three lights.
Hi, man. There's a lot. Okay, there's even a theory going around with all these paintings depicting the Jesus being crucified, and in the background they have the Albanian flag behind there, and the original Israeli Saxons of the Saxons of Britain, the original Israelites. So now there's this whole other rabbit hole that I'm going down, how Jesus was and the original Hebrews were here in Europe, and the whole story actually happened here in Europe, and Albania was part of that. It's all coming out in March, like the whole archive about Jesus Christ and what really happened, supposedly, is all going to be coming to light. So I'm just waiting for that shit to come out so I can share it with everybody. But this is a theory that he spoke Albanian, the original like ancient language of the Europeans, the Indo-European language is what he spoke, and that's what our language is linked to. And anyway, there's a whole rabbit hole because someone mentioned that Jesus was half Albanian. That's an argument that is going around right now. So I'm not saying it's true, but I'm gonna present some stuff soon. So I'm just waiting. It's all gonna come together. Sorry. Awkward. Someone said it in the chat. I was like, oh my God, I have to respond to this.
When you do all of this stuff, where will people be able to find it?
You can find me. Well, I do have a YouTube channel that I slowly post like videos of thoughts and ideas that I just have in my head of what this realm is. So you guys can I'll type in there and you just follow me there. And then you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram, GodPillAngel333 or 33. And yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, everybody's links are on projectchaney.com, and I am working on the website, so you will be able to click them and it'll go right there. But right now, just copy and paste them into your browser. Do some work. You'll be able to get to all of them.
Use your fingers and use them well.
Abby, you've been hanging out with Bootsy Owen Hunt over on Blue Collar Mystics. I want to shout that out in case anyone can't find it, because we just don't ever say Blue Collar Mystics ever. And so you've been doing the trans surfing over there on that channel, and people can check you out, and it's hella interesting.
It is such a great show, guys. It really is. Like a lot of
good information.
A lot of deep questions that you have in your head that you ask about dreams and reality and how to like manipulate.
Well, they're breaking down what book exactly that you're going chapter by chapter.
It's Reality Transurfing by Vadim Zealand. It's quantum physics, so.
And it's really the only place you can find it online. And Abby is sitting down. So for the people that have been asking me about the Medici card, she will be posting that on her YouTube sometime, hopefully next week. And what is that YouTube, Abby?
Abstract.1.
You can find that everywhere. And obviously, Paranoid American, you're always doing rad shit. What do you have going on this week?
Well, again, in the next week or two, I'll have interviews with Abby and Layla. And Abby, we go into a little bit of the Medici thing. We go into the Russian dream hackers and reality transurfing. So that's going to be really cool. And then Layla, we have an amazing conversation about a lot of the stuff that she's been talking about with like this Albanian root language.
When
and
is
I just
it
want
coming?
to say, Layla's is cooler than the box saga. Her version is cooler than the box saga version.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Love you, Thomas.
The box saga. What is the Sistine Chapel tour? This is so rad.
Yeah, you go all the way to Jesus at the very back.
Okay.
So click on that. No, don't zoom in. Just go down zoom out and there's an arrow, a transparent arrow at the bottom. You click on that transparent arrow, and it'll move you forward.
Oh, okay.
Go all the way to the back and look at this crazy mural that's behind Jesus. And the first thing you'll look at is there's a cave right behind Jesus. Zoom into that cave and then look at the rest of this. This is one of the craziest things I've ever found.
Oh my gosh.
Wait a
Holy
minute.
shit.
Zoom in?
It won't. I know. It's like I'm trying to like make it go up a little and down. Here, let me see if I can do it.
I think you can grab the screen and like actually drag the mouse, maybe.
I'm making you guys trip balls. I'm taking you guys on a trip. Okay. Is that I'm scared if I click it one more time down, it's gonna go. Let me see. Oh, okay.
Maybe you can drag it. Yeah, there you go.
There.
That's Bigfoot.
Right? There's the whole scene. If you look at the entire scene, there's the craziest, weirdest.
There's a horned guy right here.
Yeah. To the left, there's zombies coming up out of the ground.
That's Pan, isn't it? Or is it Saturn?
This is like an angel or something carrying this dead guy off. But here's another thing too.
What the fuck?
Look at the size of that tiny Layla. Is that a penis or flappity flaps?
Flappity flap flaps. Wow, that was loud. Sorry.
No,
Whoa.
I needed it. Look at that. The
Wake
dead.
up call.
Yeah, see the people crawling up out of the ground at the bottom.
Oh my gosh. I have
Now
one
swing over to the right.
What the actual fuck?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
There's an angel right above this boat that's holding a skin suit of a human. It's like a person's skin and only
Peeled
their
off.
skin.
Let's see.
This is in the Sistine Chapel.
Right up there at the top. You see that?
Oh, right here. Yeah, I
Oh my
do.
God. How does nobody ever talk about this? This is the first
That is
ever.
skin suit.
I just saved this link because I'm gonna have to like examine the crap out of this.
There's the guy covering the one eye right there at the top too.
Yeah, look at all this.
Yeah.
Look at that Nephilim.
Yeah.
The Jolly Green Giant.
The Hulk.
The Hulk.
The Jolly Green Giant. You know what I am noticing about this? That I don't see not one of these images. I don't see one clown face in the Nephila.
Is that dude wearing a sneaker on the boat?
It does.
Oh my gosh. It's
a
a
Reebok
Nike.
sneaker.
Laces.
Look at
First
it.
Nike.
Yeah,
Right?
it has a Nike swoosh on it.
What
It
a
might just be
bizarre.
cloth hanging over.
I need to look at this like myself. Like, like
Yeah.
like zoom in.
You see their weird toes they
Look
have
at
on those
elf
like,
ears.
that
Yeah.
demon elf
Did
dude
it-
is thwacking those
Oh,
people.
it's so like World of Warcraft. It's like the
An
Didn't
orc.
Jesus have a twin? Like that look-alike or something?
Brian.
Sophia.
Brian Christ.
In the Bible.
Usually if I'm
Talk about
not
it.
as mad, I'm just like, oh, Brian Christ.
And there's like this devil looking silhouette way off to the right in like this orange break in the clouds. There's like some sort of devil looking head
Oh,
back
right
there.
here.
Yeah.
Is that a flying nun?
Whoa. Moses with
Yeah, right
with
there.
the horns.
And that dude in the middle, that's definitely a zombie looking dude. Look at
This
his
guy,
face.
he's
Yeah.
about to jump. He's like, I'm out.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Get me
He's
out
a
of
and
here.
look at how
radiated or
big
something.
this guy is.
These
and
guys with their
flaps.
flappy flaps
There's
are
a
trying
lot
to
of
butt
men
rape
in
him.
this. Where are the women?
They right there's one. Just-
Oh.
that could be a man.
Oh.
That was probably the debate back then. It was all the like she was like the trans agenda, and they were like, oh, there isn't any woman being raptured in this, but
Maybe on the other side.
yeah.
Oh, don't look
There
like
are
it.
people on the left that like jump up into the sky and they're trying to fly.
This is bizarre. I've never seen this part or heard of this
Look
part.
at this. It looks like a lady carrying. It looks like these ladies are all carrying the men up.
Yeah.
Like this looks like a lady. These look like ladies.
There's a lady right there with the shawl.
Way there in the background, there's like people on the mountain jumping up in the air.
The giants, holy shit.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't this like morbid and weird?
This is so
Yeah.
apocalyptic.
Wow.
I know, and just look at this. Look at how much of this there is, you guys. Like, this is just one part of the whole chapel.
Yeah.
What does this stuff really mean, though? This is all symbolic. It all means something, and we just don't know
And
what
was
we're
this
looking
entire
at.
thing painted by Michelangelo?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or Da Vinci.
What an
No.
undertaking, though. Especially the
I
roof.
used to have these
the
on my
ceiling.
wall in college. These weird paintings.
Oh, yeah, there's some weird stuff on these side ones too. Like there's these weird UFO things on one of those pictures. I can't remember which one, but there's like weird UFO stuff. There's a lot of strange things that are happening. That dude's about to get his head chopped off right there. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. Like there's all these, there's giants. They'll show giants. One of these has like a guy that's fighting a giant and he's going to cut its head off and stuff. There's that Adam and God thing
Right
at the
there.
top.
Yeah. And that's the main focus usually that they focus on.
Yeah,
just
they're like,
that
don't pay
little
attention
spot.
to anything else. Just look
Just
at the
that.
brain right here and how deep that symbology is. Nobody knew
Look
it was
here,
a
not
brain
there.
until the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's all I know about this, and that's all they ever teach you is that. They just show you
Yeah.
that in textbooks.
They don't
But,
show you Bigfoots and caves and
No,
zombie
Just
people
look at the
in
size of
skin
this
suits.
person.
because as a kid, you'd be
compared
like,
to
"Oh my
that.
god, giants are real." No, they're not.
Mm.
Don't look at that. That's not real.
The Nephilim. And everything else seems like it's done so precisely.
Mhm.
And then, like, look at all these little people.
That's a whole story up there. That's a whole like novel up there. Like each thing is like it's like a comic book.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what it is. It's a comic book on the ceiling.
It's a meme. They had to get as much information into one slide as possible.
Fucking meme magic, baby.
It is so wild. Yeah, thanks for showing us that. I will be
Yeah,
looking
I
at
thought
that
you
for
guys
too
would get a
long.
kick out of it.
I will be looking at that for too long. What do you have going on, Jay? Do you have anything fun going on next week?
Man, what's today? I have to wake up and take my son to soccer in the morning. Oh man, tomorrow's Saturday, so I'll do a truth in movies. I'm probably gonna wrap up my Stranger Things. I've been breaking down the first season of Stranger Things.
Oh,
Got 2
fantastic.
more
show.
episodes of that, and then I'm going to switch over to the Rings of Power, and I'm going to be doing a series on the Rings of Power, and just kind of breaking down the esoteric symbolism, which there's so much.
That's cool.
And still working on my second book. My first book is pretty well received, and I'm pretty satisfied with it. It just gives a gist of, the plasma apocalypse and like the real Cliff's Notes condensed, like here's every little chapter on everything. And just kind of adding to my website. I'm really into like this whole Satan's little season subject that's been going around lately, and then Jesus's reign already having existed and 1,000 years of prosperity, around the Dark Ages and stuff like that, and researching the Dark Ages, and I don't know, same stuff I always do. Nothing super new.
You have
I
a
guess.
bunch of cute stuff though. Like people can just put in Daydreamers. And do you prefer if they go to your website to get the book, or can they order it from Amazon?
It doesn't matter to me. It's just Amazon for now. Once I do my second one's taking longer because my first one was a practice round. My second one is going to have pictures all throughout it, and it's going to be a big book, like a coffee table book, and it's going to be full of all these pictures and visual examples and stuff. And that one's going to focus more on Hyperborea and the land at the North Pole and the Garden of Eden and Paradise and the Fountain of Youth and the tribes that come from that place and the gathering and the diaspora and the plasma volcano. And
Are you excited about AI art for this? Like you can put in the words and get what your vision is, or are you using?
Yeah, actually, I'm more excited. I'm excited for that. That's okay. But I'm more excited for the AI movies and videos that are now being able to be generated that are super realistic, because now, man, I hate editing like that. I love it because it's fun. The finished product is fun,
Editing
but
sucks, really.
it takes
It's
so long
so
and
tedious. I have an episode that I sat down with my Maria, and because it's my first one I want to do, and now I'm realizing, like, I used to have a couple weeks back stock of an interview, but now I'm realizing with like people that I love their work, like Thomas included, why you have this will come out in 6 weeks instead of putting the stress on yourself of like, this is going to come out next week. Like, I can't, like, to
I
get
hate
every
that.
part that I
Yeah.
want. And the more I gather and the better I get at it, the quicker they'll be. But it's just like, my vision is I'm trying not to let my perfectionism become my Achilles heel, but I also am getting better at this as I go along. And now I don't want to just, because YouTube is a visual platform for me, and
Yeah.
I was always auditory. And so I wanted to get the sound on point when I was an auditory show. But now that I'm a visual show, I want to give people a visual as well, and not just the conversation alone. So yeah, it's
Well,
production.
I'm excited about that. And if people want, they can go to my website where there's there's like the main tabs are free and everyone can check it out and taste it and see how they like it and stuff. But there's also a free 24-hour trial. So if people want to do a cram session and they just want to try to, there's a lot of information on my website. I talk about the fractal verse, I talk about the plasma apocalypse, I talk about the Mount Meru, and everything that I've sort of hinted at, throughout our conversation is there's audio visual examples galore. I don't know how Paranoid said. He said something like it's like a theme park or something. But it's fun, and I like it to be fun because I'm fun. I want it to be fun, a fun experience. But it's free, for 24 hours. People can check it out or whatever. And the main thing that I'm trying to finish right now, I have to talk to the website Wix and the people. Apparently, I've been uploading an esoteric library. Probably 5 years ago, I was donated an esoteric archaic library.
JD, like John D.
Yeah. This library has over 10,000 volumes of ancient materials and esoteric writings, scriptures, maps. I have every single one of, for example, Tesla's patents, and it's a huge library of all things esoteric and arcane from across time. And I've been uploading those. It's taken forever, but I've hit my limit on what I can upload. So now I have to go back through it and take out some of the things that are less cool. Like I've got a whole library section on bugs. So I'm probably going to take that out, so I can make room for, the more relevant topics or whatever. And the people will be able to search that and stuff, and they'll be able to download any of the PDFs. They're all PDF format. So if they see something they like, they can just download it and keep it or whatever. So that's my main deal, my website, jdreamers.com.
Very nice.
That was a good question too. Why aren't more people using occultdecode.com? I don't know. Probably just because they don't know that it exists, but
I didn't know that
better
existed.
and it's free. Yeah, if you're doing any kind of gematria, go to occultdecode.com.
Now I know. The more you know.
Jay, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us. And I hope that you'll come hang out with us again after we finish your initiation after the show.
All right. For sure.
If you survive
if you survive the initiation. So thank you guys so much.
Love you guys.
We love you guys so much, and we hope you will all sign up and come watch movies with us every Sunday night next month. But if you don't, we'll
Netflix
still
and chill, baby.
Yeah, Netflix and chill. Yeah, we will still be on hanging out with you Sunday nights for a little while. So either way, we will see you guys soon, and we love you.
Love
bye
you.
bye.
Don't got you.
Just the planet of places. It's so good you can taste it. Down here in the basement, with a super predator playset.
The Super Predator playset comes with a shape-shifting reptilian politician, light-up severed head, jar of adrenochrome, Book of the Dead, and more. The Paranoid American playsets. Collect them all new from paranoidamerican.com.
Disclaimer.
These are custom art creations and not toys meant for wimpy little new world order babies. Don't eat the art. Don't sue the artist. For more details, visit paranoidamerican.com.
Constantly explore the room of possibilities. Come true, so what we do is call out to the good guys. Good guys, good guys, good guys. Witches, widows, mega mistakes, entertaining, calming linguists. Good guys. Forum of decorum needs a secretive society to advance on philosophies intentionally, magically. Good guys, good guys, good guys, good guys. Witches, weirdos, mischief making. It's okay to change your thinking. Good guys. Good guys, good guys.
Past email this morning. Mommy, I got my pasty. Please run to me and let me see. Oh, she's a bunny, y'all. She's a bunny this morning. Come here, bunny girl. Come here, bunny girl.